I open this meeting on September 1st, 2022. And we will begin, please, with roll call. Present.
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 Trustee Brian Swanson.
Present.
Trustee Carolyn Swanson is absent.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll begin with the agenda. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Have none. We have one walk-on.
Madam President, we have a couple of adjustments to the agenda. We would like to request that information, the information item on the pool, which is information item C, be moved to immediately after consent. We have a number of the public who are very interested in this issue, and probably would be good to move it forward on the agenda.
Okay,
So
that's great.
We would like to remove that, and then also that you have in front of you a walk-on item from Robert Down. It's a contract agreement on there. It couldn't be helped. We needed to bring it forward as soon as we could, and that's for you there. That would have to come under action item, and you could put it anywhere you like in the action agenda.
Yeah, let's put that perhaps at the end. So do I have a motion? Or is there any public comment at this time as well?
Make a
Okay.
motion to accept the agenda with the changes directed by Dr. Ports.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
President Johnson,
Yes.
Vice President Rivera,
Yes.
Trustee Pat,
Yes.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Yes.
The motion carries. So we will be moving now into closed session, and we'll be working on a conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation. Public comment on closed topics, and we're going to adjourn. Are there any public comments? Okay. So we will adjourn now to closed session. We are going to reconvene and open session, please. The action that was taken tonight in closed session, there was information given, direction given, and no action taken. This was all regarding a conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance now. Ray, will you lead us?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll begin tonight, please, with written communications. Over the last couple of weeks, we've received communication regarding our pool. Additional letter regarding the Spanish classes starting. A staff member communicated with us regarding gutters. PG has reached out, the city of, regarding a skate park. And we also had some communication regarding staffing. Did I miss anything?
I was forwarded an email regarding a town hall for the high school pool.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, I did not get that, but that's one as well. All right, thank you so much for sharing that. Okay. Board member comments, please. Can we start? Do you want to start with the student? You gestured. I think we should have the youth, or as my cousin Vinny said, the Ute of America, please.
So yeah, I'll give a little rundown on what's been going on at PG High the past couple weeks. Start off with sports. Football, it's been going really well. As most of you probably know, last Saturday was the shoe game. Didn't have the outcome that we necessarily wanted, but it was a really good building block, really good first game for a potential winning season. So we're all in good spirits with that. Really good team chemistry going on. We're all at a team dinner over at the school right now. So really good things going on with the football team. Should be having a great season coming up. We play tomorrow against Gonzalez at home. Volleyball game. They have a game going on right now against Seaside. And I guess they keep winning. So volleyball, the games have been really fun to be at. We've been doing a really good job of having big student sections. whether it's at football games, volleyball games, water polo games. A lot of people go. I stopped by at the water polo game last night. They were on the road 2 nights ago. They caught a win like an hour and a half away. So that's always impressive. And then played back-to-back days yesterday against Monterey. Caught a good win last night. Going on at the school, we've got Club Rush going on September 7th. Good way of acclimating kids, acquainting kids, bringing more togetherness at the school, getting kids involved. So that's always good. And then lastly, tomorrow in a leadership class, we're going to be having a talk about ways we can promote Suicide Prevention Week, getting the word out there, promoting positivity, and bringing just positivity for Suicide Prevention Week.
Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, you want to go, Frank?
Sure. I just spent the past couple of weeks going to the back to school nights, which were a lot of fun. First up was since the last, which we talked about Robert down before, was the middle school. And that was fun walking around those halls and seeing all the family members there. And got to see during the free period, got to wander in Miss McBride's science class, and I just felt at home there. It was wonderfully decorated with molecules hanging from the wall. Had a good conversation. Forest Grove back to school night was also very fun. Got to meet Principal Irene. I will continue to be very excited about our new hire there, and that was just great again. And with all three of these, even back at the high school and going to that one, the positive buzz that's in the air is at the beginning of this year is just phenomenal. It excites me. So that's all.
Okay, well, I'm going to ditto everything except walking into science classes and feeling really happy seeing molecules. As I felt that in English classes, theater arts, but anyway, I'm hoping to grow into that over time. The going to the high schools, I can't agree more. I know Principal Garcia mentioned last night, this is his 3rd year as principal and first night face to face with the folks. And it's very exciting to just be normal again. And when I think about my time on the board, the best part of the board is being around kids, the activities, seeing it's what everything's about. And it's just wonderful to be able to slide back into that. And it just long overdue, feels wonderful. And the kickoff of the schools, I think the admin sets the tone. I mean, we have to start DO, admin, and then the teachers were just stupendous. I mean, it just felt very upbeat and happy. So I was delighted to be a part of that. Mr. Paff.
Thank you. I very much enjoyed the open house at Forest Grove. That was very nice and neat to meet Irene. And frankly, it's always fun to see teachers. And don't get to spend enough time. I don't think I actually hit either classroom there. Sorry, guys. I knew you exist. Next time, yeah. And I was at both the middle school and the high school last week during the day with some students going on. And frankly, that's fantastic. And to be on campus and watch it going on. So I agree. It's really nice to have students there and really nice. The vibe is very positive right now. At least that's how I came out too. And thank you very much, Sean, and he's probably online, and Mr. Garcia. Thank you very much for the time.
Yes. Trustee Swanson.
Well, I did make it to the high school for back to school night, and I think I scared President Dawson because I learned a valuable lesson about the amount of time you need to put between going to the gym and then putting on your suit. Because it's so hot in there. Oh my God.
He was sweating profusely. I didn't
thought
know what was
I
up.
really thought I needed to leave the room for a minute there. 'Cause do we have air conditioning in the library?
No.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, it was tough going there for a bit. But it was nice to see everybody and be back on the campus. It's also nice to see fewer deer and geese as that problem is being worked on, because living across the street, there's some mornings when I get up and I usually walk down to the edge of the wall and listen to what the ocean is doing, and I'm often terrified over the summer, the number of, it's just like it's a zoo there with just very few animals to choose from. So it's nice to see fewer or less of that. And then I wanted just to give props to Ray for his comments tonight, because it's like you've already learned the fine art of diplomacy when you're talking about something when you didn't get the outcome that you had hoped for.
It's a building block. I memorized that.
It's like
It's a good answer.
when we're talking about shows in the concert industry, we never say it's like, oh, that show lost money. It's like we say the sales were soft on that particular one. So props to you and a great presentation tonight. That's all I got.
Okay, very, very good. All right, we'll move on, please, to the superintendent report.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a few things in deference to the agenda, but I do want to make a couple of notations. First off, I also want to thank all of the sites for the start of the back to school nights and just again, just really fabulous work by all of the staff. Just our certificated staff, our classified and our administrative team just did wonderful. And Letha, congratulations for your first in person, which is when you mentioned it was kind of hard to believe, but yeah, you came in right on the COVID years. And so really nice job to have the presentation. Principal Preciado did just a wonderful job outdoors with this crew, and Principal Roche can't be here this evening. He's had a personal family issue that is preventing him from being here, but I would congratulate him as well in the middle school.
Yes.
You're right, the vibe there was just tremendous. It was really great. I also want to note that this past week I had a chance to represent Pacific Grove at the fentanyl overdose awareness town hall that happened hosted by the city of Monterey a couple days ago in Monterey Colton Hall. A lot of representatives were there. Dr. Grover and Dr. Close, of course, those are prescribed safe from CHOMP that are leading the charge in trying to raise the level of awareness for families and for students. Our Pacific Grove police chief was there along with other police chiefs. A somber event, certainly, and just in the light that how the fentanyl overdose situation has affected us in Pacific Grove as much as anywhere else. So we, in light of that, we did get a communication from Ms. Sanfilippo, who is representing the PTAs for all the schools, and their interest in spearheading an effort to host another town hall here in our district for fentanyl overdose awareness. And Drs. Close and Grover will be helping us with that, or they've already said they would. And so we're looking to do something there at the Performing Arts Center. I encourage you to reach out to our police chief, who's always willing to participate. So we're look forward to that as we try to get that planned. One of the pieces that came as sort of a level of awareness at the Monterey Town Hall was the effectiveness of Narcan, the drug that helps to sort of block the overdose, the effects of the overdose, and allows emergency crews to get in and be able to save a life for someone who's experienced the middle of an overdose. It's very easy and safe to administer, and it's kind of it's sort of becoming ubiquitous with all of the emergency medical teams out there. In any event, in part of that conversation, the superintendent at Monterey, PK Diffenbaugh, commented that they're going to try and get the Narcan, one of the bottles of Narcan, onto the lanyard of every one of their teachers in their district. I kind of chuckled to myself and I said, well, that's really great thinking, PK, but you know what? Our very own director, Martinez, thought of that a long time ago, and it's a great idea. And so we were exposed to the possibility of filling out a grant, which will allow us to get, I think Director Martinez ordered somewhere around 1,500 Narcan canisters. And so will Dr. Grover supported getting that prescription written. We'll look to see those hopefully delivered to us. And then we're going to make that effort to start making it available for all of our staff. We're going to work with the staff, the administrators, to do training at the sites. It doesn't take long to train it, so that it's available. If it even saves one life, then so much the better.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we're trying to make some headway on that. And I think the Suicide Prevention Awareness Week is a great time to be thinking about that as well, just because of the effect that the drugs are having on our community. And so be on the lookout for that. Other than that, I'll let it go.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, it's now time, please, for PGUSD staff comments on non-agenda items. Okay,
Before you do that, we had 2 changes to the agenda and a third. Did we ever have a third change to the agenda as well? Anyway, you want.
Okay, individuals desiring to address the board, please. Public comment on any item of interest to the public that is within the board jurisdiction will be heard. The board will also take public comment on each specific action item prior to board action on each item. The board will allow a reasonable amount of time for public comment on each agenda item not to exceed 3 minutes per speaker and no more than 20 minutes per agenda item pursuant to board policy 9323. Speakers will be called sequentially and until there is no speaker coming forward on the agenda item or the amount of time allocated for the agenda item has elapsed, whichever comes first. This meeting of the Board of Education is a business meeting of the board conducted in public. Please note that the Brown Act limits the board's ability to respond to public comment. The board may choose to direct items to the administration for action or place an item on a future agenda.
Hi, Carrie Serpa, parent, Seton High School student.
The button on the base there,
Okay, wait, don't start my timer.
right behind, there he goes.
Calm down. You got it. You got
Need
it.
help. Am I good now? Okay.
Yes.
All right, starting over. I emailed Mr. Anderson on Friday, August 26th, but since it's been almost a week and I've yet to hear back, I'm bringing that request to you, the board, and I'm hoping you will consider voting on it as a future agenda item. While we appreciate Mr. Anderson's willingness to present about the pool at board meetings, this format does not fit the needs of our aquatic sport families. We respectfully request a town hall forum where the pool is the only agenda item and we can listen to his presentation, ask questions, and have ours answered. We want to understand why our relatively new pool has been closed so frequently and how to prevent further disruption. One only need look at the history of our maintenance of the pool. This is not a pandemic issue, although it certainly has been exacerbated by it. Why is our pool more difficult to maintain than other peninsula high schools? I don't know. PG High School swim team, freshman, PE swim, 5th grade swim, the WAVE program, water polo, MBSC, and community swim have all been adversely affected by our pool closure for years. We would like to thoroughly understand the history of the pool. Perhaps our stakeholders can even share some of their own expertise with Mr. Anderson. We also want to understand the current issues, get down in the weeds, as they say, and brainstorm future solutions. Our tax dollars have funded Measure D after all. We appreciate his efforts and the attention to the pool and the efforts of our fantastic maintenance staff. Yay, Rob, Jeff, and Cliff. And thank you to Mr. Garcia and AD Morgan for advocating for our aquatic families. In our short 2022-23 season, athletes have shown grit and determination, traveling to CSUMB, practicing in wetsuits, spending inordinate hours away from academics because of pool trouble. Sorry, I'm nervous. But these kids keep showing up, which is why we are here, advocating on their behalf. And now we're asking you to make them a priority and listen to their concerns and those of their families in a town hall forum. These athletes deserve a reliable pool. Our football field would never have been allowed to fall into a state of disrepair like this. I'm not here to blame anyone. I know our maintenance department is drowning in work orders, no pun intended. What I don't understand is why our facilities department does not have more employees to shoulder the work or why we do not contract out. The pool is a symptom of a much larger problem. I can tie all of this back to the LCAP goals, but I'm going to save that for later. It's time to do better for our students. Please make them a priority. We need a solutions-based town hall meeting for all community aquatic stakeholders, not just the ones who are brave enough to put on a Speedo and play a full contact sport while alternating treading water and sprinting for an hour, although they should definitely get points for that. In closing, we extend an invitation to you all to come watch a game or two and see what the hoopla is all about. And thank you to Carolyn Swanson for showing up for the last 2 games. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, we have 2 virtual comments, please, at this time.
Hello, can you hear me?
Siobhan, go
Yeah.
ahead, please.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Siobhan McGuire. I introduced myself at the last board meeting. I have a sophomore and a senior at PG High. They both play water polo. And I want to follow in Carrie's footsteps and talk about the pool. Before I do that, I did want to express gratitude to several people. I want to thank Dr. Porras and Ms. Chinbindi because they had emailed me and told me that, and I think it's going to happen, they're moving the pool to one of the first agenda items instead of second to last as it was at the last board meeting. So I appreciate that that was attended to. I want to thank Mr. Garcia for taking the time to talk to myself and two other moms at length at the last coffee with the principal. I want to thank Carolyn Swanson. As Carrie said, she came to one of our water polo practices. She was at one of the wetsuit practices. She was also at our game last night, and I just appreciate all of her support. Chris Morgan also showed up at our game last night. I want to thank him and also for arranging the bus for our game against San Lorenzo on Tuesday. I want to thank John Anderson. I know he's been working hard to get these presentations ready and for getting the pool up and running. And lastly, I just really want to thank the maintenance staff because I know that they've got a ton of work to do and they've been working really hard in the pool. And we are so grateful that for now the pool is functioning and heated and the kids were able to have their first home game yesterday. So in following to that, I just want to add my voice to the parents and students and community members who've requested a town hall meeting to discuss the pool. I appreciate Mr. Anderson presenting at these school board meetings. There's just so many questions that need to be answered. And I, along with many others, just don't believe that the school board meeting is the best forum for it. There are so many questions that need to be answered that it almost seems silly to kind of delve into them because I don't think this is the right forum for it. But I want to express my gratitude for everyone that's been working hard to get the pool up and running. But the pool has been a long-term problem. It needs long-term solutions. And I think as everyone there can see, there's a lot of interest in the community to get this addressed and to really get into the weeds, as Carrie said, on the information and the answers so that we can have a better situation going forward. So I'm just advocating for a town hall meeting to discuss the pool as a standalone item. And the last thing that I want to say is that I forwarded everyone on the board and the administration a copy of our game schedule for the water polo teams this season. So I hope that we will see some of you at some of our upcoming home games. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you so much. Tula, please.
Hi, I guess I'm not allowed to be on camera. I just want to clarify that this is general public comment, not about an item on the agenda. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So I actually have a few things. One, my name is Tula Hubbard. Been in Pacific Grove School District since my oldest, who's a sophomore in college, was in kindergarten. I would respectfully request that you look into providing air purifiers in each and every classroom in our entire school district. I think the high school is a great place to start, but I personally have air purifiers at my place of business. We have them in our bedrooms. We have them in our home. We do all of this to mitigate COVID, or if someone in our family gets COVID, the next person getting it. And I've been hearing a lot about money that we've gotten over the past 2 years for COVID and COVID response. And I'm super surprised there's still no air purifiers in any of the classrooms unless the teachers have personally paid for them and brought them in themselves to protect themselves in their workplace. So I would like for us to take a look at please providing air purifiers in our classrooms. I would also like to have a future agenda item that discusses our school facility. Well, the pool is certainly something that we're going to talk about later on the agenda today. And I do think a town hall would be more appropriate to have if you really want to hear and have a transparent, interactive dialogue. The facilities in general, especially I will speak to the high school, are really, it's actually embarrassing. Our children are in club sports, they're in regular sports, they're traveling to teams both within our county and outside of our county. And there's really no other facility that has the weeds growing, the lack of ADA accessibility, the sheer volume of feces. I heard Board Member Swanson, you know, so excited not to have the deer and the geese, and that's just in walking in the front lawn. Imagine having to dodge all the poop as you're trying to get to your locker and trying to get to your class and having that stench. We're talking about suicide prevention and our children's. We know that mental health foundationally comes back to, you know, where they are and the importance and how they feel. That's certainly a part of it. That's why there's home inspections if you're going to be a foster family. That's why it's important that we create these environments that we spend so much time doing and that our teachers do. Yet it is not reflected on the exterior and even some of the interior rooms at any part of our high school. I think it's egregious. I have a senior, so he's out, but I feel strongly enough for all the littles coming up that I'm bringing this to your attention. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, no more virtual comments, please.
Pass this around.
Thank you.
So my name is Jill Peralta Quaylar. I have a senior here at PG High. He's the third of sons coming through the school district here, so I recognize a lot of you. First of all, I want to thank you for listening to us and taking the time to consider our request to fix the PGHS pool so that it is not constantly out of commission. The PGHS pool not only is utilized by the high school water polo team, swim team, but also our PG Wave program, of which serves the PG families and kids. It also is used by the adult school, PGHS swim classes for the 9th graders, Robert Down and Forest Grove, as well as our local swim club. As you can see, the pool not only functions, functioning so that it can be used is a huge impact on our entire community, not just a few kids in the water polo team. Okay. Sorry, I lost my place here. As you can see, let's see, all of these groups are equally important to the health and well-being, of course, of our community. Also, not having wonderful pool available has caused our children to have to drive outside of our community, which increases the carbon footprint, decreases the time they have to study and possibly sleep. Okay, because my kid wasn't getting home till 9 o'clock at night when they had to go to the pool in Marina. So he's a senior taking a heavy load, taking classes at the college. So many kids have even actually started voicing that they're having stress due to this because they're not having the time that they need to study for their classes. Okay, so you ask me, how does this affect things? Swim lessons for our younger kids teaches them life skills that they will have the entirety of their life. It may even save a life since we live near the ocean. I don't know if any of you are aware, but one of our local kids that actually took swim lessons and was on the club at our PG high school pool saved somebody in Carmel who was going to be drowning. So those are the things that won't happen if our kids aren't getting the swim lessons and the time in the pool that they need. Okay. It also exposes our kids to water sports, which feeds our aquatic programs, our swim team, our water polo team, our swim club as well, which has been very instrumental in helping us have these classes for our schools. They are the ones that are helping us with our 9th grade class. They're the ones that are also helping us with Robert Down and Forest Grove swim lessons. Okay, so swimming is really important. I want to make sure I don't run out of time. It's just really important for what we and where we live at. We live near the ocean. And I just wanted to show you a picture of the people that won't be able to enjoy the water and the pool if we do not get this pool fixed. Okay, this is only one. I didn't have time to print out all the pictures that I have of all the different groups. So I want to thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for sharing today. Anyone else in the room? And no one online. All right, next we'll move on to consent agenda. And any items that we wish to change? At this time? No? Okay, do I hear a motion? Oh, public comment on consent items tonight? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion, please?
I'll move to approve consent agenda as presented this evening.
Second.
All right, the motion was made by trustee Brian Paff, seconded by Dr. Frank Rivera. Roll call vote, please.
President Dawson,
Yes.
Vice President Rivera,
Aye.
Trustee Pat,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Okay, we will move now, please, to the public hearing. Action and discussion. Oops, sorry, the pool. We're going to do pool
I
right
think
here.
This is where we. agreed
Oh,
to
I
move
put
the
it
pool.
down one lower. Okay, perfect. We've been talking about the pool this perfect time.
So this is one change to the agenda, correct?
Yeah, the other was the walk-on item H, which will go right after G,
And we were
under
going to,
action discussion.
Am I correct that we were going to remove the presentation of PGMS social emotional learning target goals tonight?
That's correct. Yes. We didn't vote that in, but he's not here
We
to
need to vote
present, so
that in?
we can just table it at the time.
Okay, we'll table that. All right, sounds perfect. All right, so we'll proceed now, Dr. Porras.
Yes, I think Director Anderson is going to present on the pool. Is that correct? We're good now? Good. Well, good evening, everybody. John Anderson, Facilities and Transportation Director. It's been a rough couple of months. As you know, when I got here, the pool was not in operating condition. And we have made great strides to work on that pool. It's been almost my daily focus for over 2 months now. I'm happy to report that it is absolutely beautiful today. So I put together a little presentation to kind of tell you what I've discovered since I've been here. So I'm just titling it Past, Present, and Future. So people seem to be very interested about the past of the pool. I will start off by saying I'm a little bit less interested about the past. I'm more interested in making sure it stays open in the future. So that's oof. Okay. So I think what we need to do is maybe a little recap of what's gone wrong so far. I think people are under the impression that these are the same problems and there's been the same issue. It's been a different problem one after the other. It's been a series of issues. So what's gone wrong? Carbon dioxide shortage. There's been a carbon dioxide shortage for about 2 years now, and it keeps intensifying. It's not getting better. I don't know why. We can't get our carbon dioxide, but we can't get it on a regular basis. So that's been an ongoing issue. The little clip I have there, there's carbon dioxide shortage for food and drink makers are scrambling. So we're not the only ones that use it for a pool. Breweries use it. They use it in the food processing industry. Carbon dioxide is used throughout the world. So we're going to continue to deal with that one. I don't see it getting better anytime soon. And I'll get into it later about how that's going to affect us. Okay, so we had a factory defective boilers, both of them. That is not a problem that we could control. It's not a problem that anybody could foresee. Okay, so those were brand new boilers. They were installed in 2019. Before we got our Measure D money, it's my understanding that Song borrowed from the general fund to get those boilers in early to keep that pool open. So they worked for about 2 years, and then the defects became apparent. So there's not much we could do about that. Those products, the repair product parts came from China. We had to wait for them. Okay. Okay, failed acid pump. The acid pumps are usually pretty easy to get. Well, when ours failed, it took about 3 weeks to get it. That's a supply chain issue these days. The failed variable frequency drive, that's that little vignette in the bottom right corner. What you see there is actually the condition of the internal workings of the variable frequency drive. And you can see it's rusty, it's corroded, it's got some pretty bad issues going on there.
And I'll explain that to you a little bit later about why that's important. PG&E power failure, we had a rather double whammy of a power failure back on July 21st. Not only did we have a substation go down in Monterey on Del Monte, we also dropped a power line, a high tension power line, right near the corner of Sunset and Congress. That caused a single phasing issue, which damaged our boilers, which were actually down at the time, but the current ran through them and damaged them. So what you see is that the things that were damaged were the inducer fan and the control boards. Okay, so those products took us about 5 weeks to get. Again, products from out of country. What we didn't know is after we got those parts, we put everything together, and you see that little picture, that little square picture, the thing says Finwall Controls on it. And it's got the word on there, China. That also comes from overseas. And on one of the two boilers, the one that would happen to be the one we chose to rebuild first, that product's and it completely blew out. And that is the ID for the boiler. It is a factory issued part. It is meant never to be replaced. It's supposed to live as long as the boiler lives. In this case, it did not. It took about 4 different technicians on the phone with our hired contractor, clear until after 6 p.m. one night to finally figure out that that was the issue. So this was multiple issues, not a single issue. So we have one of those chips and we're waiting for the second one. So we're operating on one boiler today. Okay. So what have we done? Well, since I've been here, we've been taking advantage of a bad situation. So when I found out the pool was down, I went over and took a look and I started doing some assessing. We found that the backflow valves, if you see in the top picture there, there's a valve that's been removed. And then to the right, there's a valve that's being replaced. There's a couple leaky backflow valves. And the guys told me that they never had a chance to change those because it would require taking the pool offline for a couple of days and they didn't have the opportunity. So I said, hey, pool's down now, let's change them. So we got those changed. That is, of course, preventing water from being spilled out into the equipment area. We took advantage of the downtime and we exchanged 137,000 gallons of water. That's a little bit more than a quarter of the water in the pool. That is a pretty large amount of water, you know, if you think about that, 137,000 gallons. That's quite a few households worth. And we are in a drought right now. I called Cal-Am and got permission to do that. There was a long-term hole in the pool that was causing some rust and problems and broken tile right near to the right of the steps when you go into the pool. Since we had the water level down, we were able to repair that. Okay, we replaced that failed acid plumb. We replaced the failed variable frequency drive. And here's where I need to tell you a little bit about the frequency drive. So the frequency drive that failed, it controls the motor. And that is an energy savings thing that keeps the motor going at a certain speed and then modulates the speed of the motor up and down to save energy. The variable frequency drive is now an obsolete part. So when it burned up, myself and Robert started hitting the internet, making phone calls. It took us probably a little more than a day to actually find a couple out there. And so we finally found one and ordered it on eBay of all places. It is what you call new old stock. So somebody had this in a box someplace and they don't make it anymore. And so we were able to locate one. So right now we're in the condition where we probably have the last one available in America. We found it, we paid for it, we got it installed. I borrowed his credit card to do it. We made it happen. And it was, you know, it was an all-day ordeal plus to find that thing. But we found one. Okay, so we replaced the factory defective parts. Again, those were, I don't really know because the process started before I came here. So that process must have taken months to get those parts. Again, what you see in the lower picture, that big bronze ring, that's the part that failed. They're from a foundry overseas. And they're not really a great quality. Ask me if I have a lot of faith in the new ones that were supplied. I don't know. They're the same ones. They came from overseas again, probably from the same foundry that made the first ones that failed. That disturbs me a little bit. So are we going to get another 2 years out of them? I sure hope so. Okay, but they were supplied for free as a warranty item. So that's good, but we had to pay to install them. Okay, so next was the replacement parts that failed during the PG. We changed the first two that we ordered that we knew about. That little chip ID part, we've replaced one out of two, and it's going to take a factory representative. And they're so serious about these things that they literally, when they pull them out, they smash them with a hammer. Because if that chip gets put into the wrong boiler, it is a huge liability for them. It could cause a boiler to explode. So they're not having, we have to wait for a factory guy to come down from up in the San Jose area to take care of that for us. Okay, and also during that time frame, I found out that we needed a little better training. So I sent 2 employees over to get training as certified pool operators. So now we have 2 guys running the pools that are fully certified as pool operators. And that's very important. Okay. So what's the result? All that work, and of course I'm kind of up there. Can you move that a little bit there? So I'm letting the picture speak for itself. Look at the water clarity. Okay. We changed that. We shocked the water twice because of all the seagull presence. We didn't just shock it once, we shocked it twice. That means we hyperchlorinated the pool to purify that water. Plus we changed 137,000 gallons. We did in that time frame get 1 delivery of carbon dioxide. So we hyperchlorinated, we back flushed every day for quite a few days. So we also filtered the water excessively. So right now we have a pH level as of August 30th at 11:30 a.m. of 7.55 and a free chlorine of 3.3. I guarantee you that's probably the best water quality you're going to find within probably 400 miles in a pool. So PG's got that right now. Our guys have been doing some work. Yeah. Okay. So what's the plan? It's a plan for resilience. And I kind of told my guys that resilience is what this is about. It's the ability to recover and adjust easily to a misfortune or change. We've had a string of misfortune with our pool. And I don't think any of us actually need to own it. I think what we need to do is plan for it and make sure it doesn't happen in the future. So what does this mean? Maintenance, an increased frequency, scheduled maintenance closures. It's my understanding in the past, we haven't had maintenance closures. We're going to have them in the future. You want your pool alive, we've got to take care of it. Okay, modifications. I've done a survey of the area and there's some structural and equipment modifications I'd like to see made. I don't know how we're going to fund them. We'll get to that point, but I could recommend them to the board. And we need to reduce overuse. What I'm finding and I'm hearing from the community, and one of you came up here and commented on it, this pool gets a lot of use. This pool gets a ton of use. And I think what everybody needs to understand is with increased usage becomes increased problems for a pool. The more we use it, the less rest time it has, the more chances it has for failure. So we need to weigh and balance what we're doing with our pool. Do we really want to use it this much, so much so that it fails for the water polo team? Maybe not. We should reevaluate that. And one of the other things I want to talk about, spares. I'm talking about on-shelf parts. Where I've come from in the past, I had on-shelf parts for my pools. It's very important to do that because it's a lot of long lead time on items, and especially with this new supply chain issue we've had the last couple of years. Okay, so maintenance, what we're doing today. So we want to see less of that no swimming sign and occasionally a little more closed for maintenance signs up. Okay, so this would be scheduled. We want to find a time where there's not any usage, and I want to be able to shut the pool down when no one's using it and get some work done. So what are we doing right now? We're doing increased backwashing. So the guys used to backwash, about once a week. We're backwashing about 4 times a week now. So that's an exchange of over 2,000 gallons. Each time we do that, our water quality gets a little bit better, and we're doing some serious filtering of that water. Okay. So decreasing total dissolved solids. Total dissolved solids are all your salts and things that come in the pool. Those total dissolved solids come from evaporation of chlorine, evaporation of the minerals, and what comes off of our bodies as we go into the pools. So how do we decrease the total dissolved solids? We got to get everybody to shower before they go to the pool. It needs to be a religious event. They need to do it every time as a ritual before they go in that pool. I want to see people washing off before they get in. It's important to all of us. Okay. And what happens if the total dissolved solids get to an increased level? we start to see our chlorine get evaporated quicker, used up quicker, burn out quicker. We start having the burning in the eyes. We start having the slimy skin when you get out of the pool. It just destroys our water quality. So we want to try to maintain those at the lowest level possible. So that becomes a cooperation effort of everybody that swims in that pool. Okay, so again, about those scheduled maintenance closures. We're going to have some regular monthly maintenance we're going to do. And I'm putting together a list for the guys that they will check off and do that each month. And then of course, there's always the daily maintenance as well. And that's a given. That's still happening and always has been happening. And then twice annual, I want to schedule 1 week closures so we could actually break down boilers, clean them up, get to the shut down the electrical and be able to clean that stuff up as well. Volunteer assistance is going to be really important. At any given day, I've got 3 to 4 guys here doing maintenance, and there is a lot of campus to cover. So having volunteers to help brush pool walls, clean decks, do some spot vacuuming will just, it'll allow my guys to get out and do other maintenance work because, you know, the pool is important, but it's not the only thing here, you know. Okay. And I know that we've already had 1 person volunteer to help lead up that volunteer crew. So I'm excited about getting that started. Okay, modifications. One of my first observations is that the chemical storage is essentially in the same location as the pool equipment. So we have some very corrosive air blending with all the equipment. And remember when I said that picture of the variable frequency drive and all the corrosion that was going on there? The only way we can stop that is to build a wall of separation and get some ventilation that gets all that corrosive air away from the pool equipment. I estimate that at about $5,500 to build that separating wall. Okay, so improve the pool equipment enclosure. What I have found since I've been here, I was checking on the pool every morning about 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. on my way into work, and I noticed there was that dew over everything. The same dew and mist that we get here goes right through the chain link fence and all over the equipment. All that moisture is not good for the equipment. So we need to find a way to keep the elements out. So building the walls to separate that, about $7,500 to put up some aluminum walls. Okay, so interim aviation mitigation measures. The seagulls found a happy home during COVID. They began to roost on the rooftops. The rooftop with the gravel is not ideal. So about $2,500, we're going to do some interim measures. Those have already begun. Now here's the tough one, replacing the gravel ballast roofs with encapsulated roofs. If you've been to our charter school over on David Avenue, or if you've seen the old woodshop roof, formerly the woodshop roof at the middle school, you'll see a version of an encapsulated roof. What's great about that encapsulated roof, it is basically a fiberglass coat over the top, and eggs roll right off. And seagulls are not great nest builders. What we've noticed is where we put that roof, the seagulls don't roost on it. So ultimately, having that type of roof would be great. We have $1,750,000 under the bond for roofs at the high school. And those roofs alone would probably be in the $500,000 range. That's just a loose estimation. Problem is I don't think 1.75 million was actually intended to replace every roof on the high school. From what I'm reading in the bond, it looks like it was actually intended to replace the oldest of the roofs. So we'll have to get creative about that. Now, another thing I want to talk about is heat exchangers. I put heat exchangers in for the pool system at Stevenson School, and I've put them in at other places I've worked. And what a heat exchanger does is it separates the boiler from the pool water. Right now, our boilers are direct water heaters. So they direct the water that's in the pool. They directly heat the water that's in the pool. So why is that bad? So the boiler, if you will, has a series of tubes in a circle. Fire is produced in there, and the water circulates through the tubes and it gets heated. Now, when you're heating pool water that has a higher chlorine rate, has acid in it at times, you know, for the pH balance, it's not like your regular pure water. It's a chemically active water, and also it has a lot of the total dissolved solids we talked about. It has a lot of salts and things in it. So as that goes through the boiler, it's very caustic to the boiler tubes. So the way to get around this is you put what's called a pool heat exchanger. That's the PHE. If you look on the little moving diagram there, where you see there's this closed circuit for the boiler, which is on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, the pool water and the boil water never touch. So if you think about the radiator on your car, the water circulates through your engine and it exchanges the heat out into the air through your radiator. This is essentially the same idea. Your pool water and your boiler water never touch, but they meet inside the heat exchanger and the heat exchange is done there. So what happens is those never touch and your boiler gets a longer life. And what happens occasionally, about every 5 or 10 years, the heat exchanger fails and you replace it and for a fraction of the cost of the boiler. Boilers are about $65,000 to $100,000 each. Heat exchangers about $10,000. So it's a way to get longevity out of the boiler and increase our opportunities. And then if a heat exchanger goes down, we get that, we exchange it in a day or so. A boiler tube goes down, we're talking a $50,000 repair. So $40,000 for a couple of heat exchangers might be a better deal. So we're looking about $555,500 as a loose estimate on what it would take to make these modifications. So where do we get the money? That's the question. Spares. So these are some of the long-term items that would take our pool out of commission for periods of time. Acid pump. We learned last time that this took about a week or so to get. That's really not acceptable. It should be a common item here in America. We just can't get them readily like we used to. Chlorine pump, ours has been working great, but why not have a second one? It's not a very expensive item. The variable frequency drive. So the one that we have, like I said, is obsolete. So I looked into the direct replacement they make today, which would take us a little rewiring to make it work. That item is about $6,500. When I called, it was not in production. They said it would be 40 weeks if I were to order one because they will not make one until we order. So this is something we might want to look at ordering now. Yeah. Control boards, they're about $1,250. We need 2 of them, but we only need to put 1 on the shelf. That's not too much. The inducer fan, $3,500. Where motors can be protected from single phasing, unfortunately, these 2 items cannot. There is no line conditioning. The line conditioning would cost way more than the boards cost. So it would be cheaper to just have these 2 items on the shelf if possible. The pool pump and motor is, I think, about 12 years old now. We could probably expect about 15 years out of a pool pump and motor. So we're getting pretty close to the time that we'd expect those to fail. And if I can't get a frequency drive for 40 weeks, I wonder how long it would take me to get a motor. So it's another thing we might want to think about purchasing and putting on the shelf because its failure is imminent. It will come, and we just got to know when. And if we're not prepared, that would possibly put the pool down for a period of time. Okay. All right. So the question is, how do we fund it? Literally, I'm new here, 2 months into the job, and I'm looking for advice. So Measure D money, we had $100,000. We spent it actually before we got it by borrowing from the general fund. It was great that we did that, but guess what? We have 0 remaining dollars from the Measure D money for the pool. Grant funds. Last time we were here, we learned about grant funds, that there was possibly some money available. So we could look there. Maybe I'll have to discuss that with Song and Josh when he comes on board. Regular maintenance funds. I've spent $50,000 out of my maintenance fund so far. That would be really nice if that $50,000 could have gone to some other maintenance things, but the pool needed it and we spent it. So we've been putting our money where our mouth is. Breaker club funding. There's some breakers here, right? So maybe we look to the breakers to maybe help us raise some money for some of these on-shelf products, maybe. Future projects. I'm looking at the pool. I'm not an expert by all means, but I've been around enough pools over the years that to me, it looks like it's about 2 years from needing a replastering. That's not cheap. So we need to think about that. Maybe we start fundraising now for a project 2 years from now. And then we have to talk about a question of equity. For me, I see that I've met with Pacific Grove Middle School about the performance theater over there. They've been waiting 15 years for lights, stage, curtains and stage refinishing. 12 years ago, the pool got renewed and now we're spending a bunch of money on the pool again. And, the middle school theater department is still suffering. I don't know if that's fair. So we should consider that too. And should outside users be using our pool and should they be paying more? Maybe they need to pay a little bit more. The fees are pretty low, $25, $50, $75. I'd sure like to be able to rent a pool that cheap. Maybe I'll start using it for my personal use. That's pretty cheap for such a nice pool. We need to find ways to fund all these things. I don't know that it's time to go out for another bond specifically for the pool. So this project and this problem runs a little deeper than I think we have on the surface. So, all right. It's the end.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Mr. Anderson. I feel like I've earned my certificate of pool maintenance. I learned so much and I really appreciate the way you just jumped right in and got your feet wet. I don't know.
Got
The
my
way-
feet wet, literally.
No, but what I
First.
yeah, what I really appreciate is just how much your forward vision, like, all right, this is what happened. This is how we can prevent this in the future. It's working right now. But let's not be happy. Let's look forward and cut off these issues in advance before they come to us in the future.
Absolutely.
The funding, we'll have to figure that out.
That's a
But
toughie.
yeah,
Yeah.
but thank you so much. I appreciate all the work you've done. The presentation made it clear what's happened, the direction we need ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson. Appreciate that. Also, just briefly, I want to very publicly apologize for any comments about stuff behind the middle school since that is all gone. And I really thank you for having that set up, and that was from last meeting. And had I looked, it was done. Thank you. So, I run a shop in Watsonville. And I'm going to talk about that for a couple minutes, which is, I usually don't talk about that. And in the last year, we have about a $1.3 million capital budget. I have a lathe that's supposed to be coming in. It was due on November 21. It has been delayed and hit the Oakland dock August 24th, 2022, and will be in our facility, we hope, in October. And there's nothing we can have done about that. This is the delay that's caused. It's out of our control. Nothing we can do. We have a lap. It requires a small power module, which is a chip about 2 inches by 2 inches, which is no longer made. And we are actually getting one on eBay. The cost to get it reprogrammed is $250. The cost to get the test on it done is about $1,600. That's just the guy sitting there for 8 hours. The cost for the new control system, which once we get it up and running, will be about $46,000. I got this number literally last week. It has taken us 8 weeks to find somebody with a chip. These are, I'm saying this because these are real delays. There's very little we can have done about that. The way this fails is on Monday, it works. You turn the switch, everything runs. On Tuesday, you come in, you flip the switch, the brown smoke disappears into the air and you're done. That's electronics in a nutshell. That's when the brown smoke escapes, you're toast. They're not fixable. I have a speed fan, which actually requires a variable frequency drive, and we can't get one. So our solution right now is to put a very big old honking fan to keep the other one cool enough to allow us to run it as long as possible while we get this, and it is about 40 weeks. And I'm saying all this and talking about this because I really appreciate the delays that have been caused by things outside. So when we say, hey, we can't get this and it's 3 weeks, I'm very sorry, but it is 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks. I appreciate that you're saying on-site spares. I have about 26 vacuum pumps, and we try and keep 2 on site at all times, and we try and keep 2 high vac pumps available. I have not been able to get a spare high vac pump in 2.5 years. By high vac, it's 10 to the minus 8 torr. It's basically space and beyond. You talked about new boilers. I really appreciate that someone along the way has said, hey, let's do a heat exchange system instead of a direct boiler. That is brilliant, actually, and I appreciate that. And if we do nothing else, that's a massive save. So my point in all that is I really appreciate the delays. I know that we have been spending the effort that we've been trying to get things up and running. I appreciate you saying, look, we just need to take stuff down a little bit more often than we have and just say, look, this weekend it's not available, this week it's not available, and plan on that, first of all, so the coaches can plan around. That saves a hell of a lot of heartbreak right there. And keep it all, basically bring it in. And, you know, a $500,000 roof, we couldn't do that for Robert Down because the structure on there probably won't support certain things. But every building over there is relatively new, right? So, and the gym is new. So I think all of that is probably available just to replace with whatever we need when we can get there. And if that keeps the geese and the gulls and the same beasties that are on this field, fantastic. So I was at the pool on Friday watching water polo. I appreciated the clarity of the pool. Nico was there. Oh, Tula's online, not here. And there was only one kid in a wetsuit. It was about 76. It was still kind of getting rising. And yeah, the water was very clear. Thank you very much. And it's looking very good. So I appreciate all the efforts. And it's unfortunate that you stepped in at a point where we know sometimes you turn the switches and things don't turn on again like they're supposed to. And I don't know how to solve that particular dilemma, but I think we have some PM. I think that you're putting in a better plan, and I appreciate the work you put in. So thank you very much. And that was a long talk, but thanks.
Thanks again. You know, this week's presentation, last week's, I appreciate how thorough they are. It would be great. I would love to have an actual copy of if you have, was it a PowerPoint?
Yes.
Just to be able to reference
Yes.
in the future
That's
too.
what I was gonna say.
Oh, it is. Okay, great. So, you know, such a thorough explanation of all the things that have gone on. And I know sometimes it's difficult to believe that it's like, wow, this happened and this happened and this happened, and it all did. It's very complicated. I was hoping at some point here, and I'll get you the answer when I get it, but my brother-in-law, who's a vice president with Praxair, I sent him a note. It's like, tell me about the CO2 shortage. Tell me that so I can share a little bit more information. So I will get that to you if he gives me something, and I expect he will. But again, thank you. I know we have more problems that we are, you know, just finding out. It's like, all right, so where is the money for this and how do we find it? I mean, it's going to take some scraping and moving some things around, but we're going to have to take a look at it and see, because some of these things are absolutely necessary. They're future problems, but they definitely are coming. I'll have to figure it out. So thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank you as well for the depth of the explanation. I know tonight, some of the issues raised were, we have questions. We feel we need answers to what's gone on. Why has it taken so long? That's coupled with what you alluded to, I think, initially, which is his history. You know, people that feel sometimes unhappy with this hasn't been dealt with previously in ways that we think it should have been. I know the boilers, I remember when we put those in, they're new. I mean, right when all this started happening, I'm thinking, how old are these things? And then I remembered they're new. I also think part of what we're guilty of, in all fairness, is that we're trying to take care of the community, and we're trying to serve so many different groups. I mean, the picture and all the other folks that love to be involved with that pool. I think part of what you said we need to make happen, which is take it down purposefully at the right times so that we can anticipate and be proactive about repairs coming up, so that hopefully this kind of thing doesn't happen again where we're just reacting. It's also hard, I think, as parents, teachers, you don't like to see kids coming home for homework at 9 o'clock at night, wearing wetsuits, freezing, trying to figure out where they're supposed to go. Our job is to support them, and I don't think it's anybody's fault, but obviously there were a lot of things that happened that we couldn't kind of take care of. I'm very happy this can be somewhere so that people who are confused and want to know what the heck happened, how did this happen? it's so clear the way you explained it and all the visuals with literally pictures of corrosion. So thank you. I'm in agreement with the other board members. We need to be ahead of this, get things on the shelves and figure out ways to get money to the program so that we can support this. I was very happy when girls water polo came in and we could get that going, and it's been a great addition to the school. So obviously we care about that. We want to continue to support. But again, thank you so much for that.
I don't know if, I don't think we have it as a future agenda item right now, but I do think, one of the things you'd looked at or mentioned too, is it's like, oh, we should take a look at our fees that we're charging for outside users. And I recall specifically, like when, and I don't want to single out the WAVE program, but when that came up and we were looking at the fees and what we charge for that, when we looked at the pool, we were like, all right, so it takes this much chlorine and then it takes this much for somebody to clean up afterwards. And that was kind of
Yeah.
that was it for assessing what our costs are. And they're obviously greater. Like anything, when you think about anything that has some sort of environmental impact, it's like you really have to kind of pull it apart and examine, what's the impact of this, somebody using it here and here and here and here, and it's greater than just like supplies and person hours. So
That's a
anyway,
good
we should
point.
examine that at some point too, when we bring that back up and look at some of the fees that we charge outside use, and not just for the pool either, really. I mean, for all these other things too, all our other facilities.
Agreed. Okay, all right, let's open it up now, please, for, pardon, Ray, I'm so sorry. I know we talked about the shoe game, but talk about swimming. What do you think? What are your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I thank you for working so hard for, working on the facilities for my school. It can't be easy being new and then being put into this situation. So really thank you for that. I've seen firsthand how excited all my friends that play water polo are to be back in the pool. I remember a couple of weeks ago, if we'd be at lunch or a break or something, and I'd be in, a group of friends and they'd be, oh, I don't want to go to CSUMB tonight. I'm so tired already, blah, blah, blah. And so it's been cool to see how now they're so excited to be back in the pool at practice every day. So
It was equally discouraging to our maintenance folks. Every time they would try to fire it up, something else would go wrong. It was very frustrating. So we're probably just as happy as you are that it's running at 80 degrees right now.
So thank you very much.
You.
Ms. Dawson, may I ask? And Song, do we have a claim against PG&E for that line failure?
I have the paperwork on my desk and I'll be filing that. Like I said, I think last meeting, I commented that twice before for these type of issues, I've filed claims, and I'm sure there's a mailbox someplace it goes to, and that's where it stays, but we'll try. Yeah.
Okay.
We have also filed a claim with our insurance.
Okay.
Okay, good deal. Now we'll go public comment, please.
Beth Shamas. I'd just like to give a little history on the pool. I was on the school board from 97 to 2009. The pool has always been somewhat of a problem, as I remember when I first got on the board. And I think what I want everyone to understand is that one of the things that when you're looking at the district and why is football getting this and music isn't getting that, and you have these competing interests and they come and go with the popularity. So I remember that at one time we had no swim team. There was no water polo for sure, but there wasn't even a swim team. Occasionally there would be a swim team, but so nobody was using the pool basically, except the adult school. The adult school has consistently used the pool, as I remember. And then I believe that's one of the reasons we asked, the public came to us and said, hey, can we use the pool? is it okay if we have the swim club here? And then we said, yeah, we'll charge you, but we didn't charge a lot because we weren't aware of, but it wasn't getting used. It really wasn't getting used. So this little bit of use wasn't an issue then. So it's just good to know that, you know, that's where it comes from. And, you know, it's just always been, we had a liner we put in. It was a $70,000 liner we put in. I mean, there's been all of these fixes and you just want to say, why don't we get a new pool? But it's so expensive. The one thing about the roof is like, why wouldn't we just put like a carport roof over the pool? You know, I mean, anyway, that's a little history.
Beth, do you recollect when Matt Bell said, well, we went to fix the pool one last time and he put his finger through? We had in 2009, the last aluminum pool in the state. So.
I'm
Go
gonna push
ahead.
the button this time, right? Or it's already been pushed?
They'll take care of you.
Okay. All good. Carrie Serpa again, parent, PG High School. Thank you, Mr. Anderson, for the presentation. I think history does matter, so you don't repeat it. I still have questions about the CO2 shortage and why it doesn't seem to be affecting all the other pools around. I did ask around, and it seems like many of them use acid to balance their pH. I understand that's expensive, but I do wonder if it's something we can look into. And I wonder about the sports center, because if there's any place that has overuse, it would be there. So I wonder how they handle it. But as I said earlier, I wanted to tie the pool and facilities in general back to the LCAP. And I wanted to reiterate that our facility issues are not due to a lack of effort by our maintenance staff. There's way too much work to be done and too few employees to do it. They're too busy with work orders to do preventative maintenance, let alone beautification. But we need to make the high school campus aesthetic or lack thereof a priority. Many studies have been done on the impact of one's educational environment and learning. Thankfully, PG High School teachers and staff have made the classrooms and offices look welcoming, but the campus itself leaves a lot to be desired. And I'm not just referring to the pool deck and the seagulls. The first goal of the LCAP states that PGUSD will challenge all students by providing a quality instructional program in a positive, safe, and stimulating environment. That goal is explained as providing students with highly qualified teachers and classified staff in a setting where students are safe and proud of their schools. So while we have the first part of that covered, we are definitely failing at the latter. I think it's past time to do better. It's been in the newspaper. People have written about it. We've heard it at PTA. We've heard it at Coffee with the Principal. We've heard it at board meetings, and it is about more than the pool. Although we still want the town hall so that we can work together and figure this all out, how to fund it and all the overuse and all of that. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, we have two comments virtually, please. The first one. Tula? Tula, can you hear us?
You're good. Go.
I can hear you. It was saying that the clerk wasn't unmuting me. So hello, thank you. So I'd like to start with thanking John Anderson for his presentation. Some of you know this, but my background is I used to be a CEO in the fair industry. So managing 150 acres and multiple buildings and equipment in the Imperial Valley, no less. So air conditioners and pools. I get the importance of facility, which is why I spoke to this in open comment. And I really appreciate the insights Mr. Anderson has brought. I do think that history is important. So we don't repeat ourselves. In making the same errors that we have done in the past. I'm grateful that we got those boilers. I remember that in 2018 and 19, the pool was down for 16 weeks. It affected 153 to 160 kids. But we knew then that wasn't a good fix. Like we knew then. So this is why history is so important, because we need to not go back to our cheap ways and our low bids and and he was right on. I'm actually really impressed. We need to separate materials. We need that mechanic room. We shouldn't have our stuff out in the elements. That's kind of a no-brainer. Yet somehow our board in our decisions prior thought that was okay. We really need to make our facilities and making the right choice a priority. Thank you, Member Path, for bringing up PG&E reimbursement. I have a lot of contacts pretty high, pretty deep in PG&E. If we're going to an empty mailbox, please contact me and let me see who I can call and what strings I can pull. The increased usage, I do respectfully disagree with my experiences, and this is kind of why we do need a town hall. There's actually nothing that says that pools can be overused. It has to do with service and maintenance. So while you're correct, if it's used a lot, we're going to have to spend more money on chemicals and we need to adjust it. But there's really no such thing as overuse. And I appreciated that you kind of qualified, you've been around pools. And this is why we need a town hall, because we need to bring in Mark from MBSC. Mark at the Moose Lodge manages a pool there that people get certified for their diving. Many of us have. He's offered to volunteer and help. Yes, let's rinse off our players and hallelujah. Let's get them some warm water so they can do so and want to do that. I love your idea of pumps and spares. Maybe we can create a JPA with other pools where they're on a shelf for all schools and all of us to use. And, you know, we're kind of talking about the history, and I'm not going to have time to go through the hundreds of numbers, but let's put an agreement in place. Let's put a plan B in place that our pool's going to go down. We have an MCAL champion water polo team that's only 4 years old. Let's do a mutual aid agreement and let's have this taken care of for them and everyone else that really depends on our pool. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Siobhan?
All right, I think I'm unmuted.
Yes, you are.
Okay, good. So Tool is so hard to follow up because she kind of frames everything so beautifully, but I wanted to reiterate thank you to John Anderson. That was a very thorough presentation and I appreciate that. I love the idea of his whole modifications page. I love keeping extras on, extra parts on the shelf, especially these ones that are going to take 40 weeks to get. We need to have these things on hand. I still have so many questions though. I have questions about, related to the history and how do we go forward and how do we create this environment that's not going to allow corrosion of the parts? How do we, because our maintenance staff is so overworked and are pulled in so many different directions, how do we contract with an outside maintenance facility? I appreciate that he's got 2 folks that now are certified for the, working on the pool, but that obviously can't be their full-time gig. And not that the pool should require a full-time person all the time, but it seems like there needs to be more ongoing maintenance that has been neglected over the years that has led to this chronic breaking down of problems. And I get that it's not all the same problem, but the fact that there's so many failures year after year of so many different parts is not, in my mind, that's testament to the fact that there's like an overall bigger problem that needs to be addressed. And so I just feel like all those things, there's still so many questions that need to be addressed. So I just really feel like a town hall still is necessary so that we who are stakeholders in this, who have children who are participating in these programs, we just want, obviously, as you do, the best for our kids, the best situation, the best environment. And there's just so many things that I feel like I still would like to know, and talking to other parents, I feel like there's still a lot of questions that are out there. So again, I very much appreciate the presentation. It was a lot of information that I didn't know. And so it fills in a lot of blanks, but there's still a lot of holes in my knowledge that I would love to fill. So thank you for your time. And I look forward to having more opportunities to discuss the pool.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Robin?
Hi, yes, thank you. So I'm the parent of 2 PGUSD kids. They go to Forest Grove, and the older, my daughter, is also in the Monterey Bay Swim Club, which is one of the users of this pool. And I pretty much just want to agree with a lot of what the other speakers have said, and particularly I think there is a lot of value in having a broader community discussion in a town hall. I know, for example, we're talking about, Monterey Bay Swim Club and other groups as these outside users, but of course, these are lots and lots of PGUSD kids. When they're younger than high school, this is the way that they have access to a swimming pool in Pacific Grove. And so there's a lot of overlap there, and I hope that we would be able to find a way that the outside users can still be accommodated. It seems like it would be fair maybe to charge more. I think that the MBSC folks probably would be open to that, but I know they also, Mark from the club and the other coaches didn't feel it was necessarily appropriate for them to be here at the board meeting and to speak, but would certainly, it would be good to invite them to a town hall to see what we can do to accommodate other users of the pool so that our Pacific Grove kids do have a chance to use the pool even, prior to their high school years. So other than that, just thank you for the presentation. It was really informative, and thanks for the chance to speak.
Thank you, Robin. Chris Hubbard, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Chris Hubbard. I would like to yield my 3 minutes to my wife, Tula Hubbard.
We don't yield. I'm sorry.
The notes that Chris has written down here and that I've written with them is I, again, would like to respectfully request the town hall meeting. This knee-jerk reaction of, oh, let's look at the fees. We should be charging more. That WAVE program that you bring up,
Tula, I'm sorry.
That
You can have time yielded to you.
This isn't random users. This isn't people from out of the area. This
Tula, I'm sorry, we don't yield minutes. We can't do that. So you spoke earlier and you got to speak a second time under a different category, and that's it for this evening. I'm sorry. Renee, please.
Hi there. Good evening. I just wanted to say thank you very much for all the presentations. I too would support a town hall meeting to discuss this at a broader level, and also not just at a broader level, but also at a more detail. There was a lot of questions that we have that we had put forth in a memorandum to the board that we would love to be able to not just get answers to those questions, but then also be able to discuss and be able to have a conversation about those questions. And I don't want to speak for the full 3 minutes, but I do very much support a separate town hall to be able to speak about the pool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jill Quaylar, again, have student here. Again, I would like to also thank Mr. Anderson. I thought it was a great presentation, great information. I am happy he's looking ahead at how we can prevent the past, because I think that was part of what didn't happen. We didn't plan for the future. We just kind of took care of it and let it go, and nobody took care of it. And now here we are today. So thank you, Mr. Anderson, for that part of it. I do want to say, though, limiting it to only a few. We are PG. We're a community. I think all of those entities serve each other. They help with each other. They feed each other. The club feeds our swim teams. The club helps us with our swim groups that are at the lower levels. The adult swim are more than happy to come in and help as well. So I think we really need to take a look at what we're saying if we say cut them off. I don't think that's fair. And I also don't think it's reasonable. Like somebody said, other pools function quite fine at more use than what we're doing right now. So why can't we make that happen here? Okay, we're here for the community, right? That's part of our community. So thank you.
Yeah. No one, I didn't hear.
Question.
Is that the thing?
Jill, when you said outside, you're talking about, it doesn't matter MBSC, it serves PG kids, it serves Monterey, whomever it does. Yeah, okay. You're not trying to separate that.
No,
Okay, fine. Thanks.
I didn't hear anybody suggest that I'm aware of. Oh, that was just discussing ways of creating more revenue that would help us essentially. I think that would.
Yeah, I just,
Oh, no.
requesting a pool, so if I misunderstood.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about that. The wave was mentioned because there are times when revenues have come up that we've been pretty loose about it because it is our kids. And if we're trying to come up, the money that was mentioned tonight is not a little bit of money. It's a lot of money necessary to have this be a top flight operation. So it was just alluded to what are ways that we might look at revenue and how we might create that. But nobody up here that I heard said anything about stopping any of the other programs.
I thought it was in the presentation.
As we should be looking at, can we really service all that? And looking at it is
Oh,
different from
okay.
saying we're going to cut anything.
Yeah.
And actually what someone else said was, really, it probably can support all this as long as we understand that. I think that's a reasonable.
Yeah.
It's not a, it's a reasonable question, but at the same time, it's probably pretty reasonable to say it's not running 24/7, it's running. And if we can get a good solid week in there consistently, maybe we're better off. That's kind of my understanding.
Probably all entities would totally support that.
Yeah.
Let me, I want to continue part of this discussion. The bulk of that money that John put up there is in roofing. Right? Of
Yes.
that, there was $550,000 for roofing, and all of the rest of it combined is something like $100,000. Plus, if we start to slowly and surely build the spares that we need, which makes sense, if you can get them, good luck. And that sum of money, while not inconsequential, is not the
Not
roof.
as overwhelming.
And the
No.
other question on like a roof in general is eventually this is a capital investment and that we're doing. Now, we don't put a new roof on KL, which badly needed it, and then say, well, we have to re-roof Forest Grove. That's not rational. We say, well, D and E, actually, I think E actually did get a new roof not too long ago, didn't it? When he bought, K&L did, and then somewhere, anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, you're not doing it in that way, but eventually we'll get to a point where we have to do this anyway, and then we'll be fixing that problem as well. So I think the bulk of it and the concentration needs to be on the stuff that is incremental and more daily. And it is very interesting when you said CO2, we actually have the same problem. We can't get certain gases right now. So it's very real. I know there's other things. We looked at acid not too long ago. I don't know the net result of that. Point is, John's actually said for $110,000, maybe we have a far solid, more solider.
More solid.
Thank you. What she said. Plan, which
Yeah.
buys us a week break instead of 13 weeks. And that's pretty reasonable to discuss and bring back. So
Yes.
thank you for.
I have a little CO2 information.
Oh, hot off the presses. Hear it from the brother-in-law.
John probably already knows this because I would imagine you've already done the research, but from what little I've been told so far, CO2 is a byproduct of ammonia production. And they've created a new greener way to create ammonia without this being the byproduct. So as we're moving into trying to be a greener nation or world, this is one of the challenges that we get. So I'll forward you the whole response and you can take a look at it and see if it, but it was nice to get that from the in-laws.
Yeah. Thanksgiving will be so much better now. All right. I think Trustee Paff may have just
We
a
can always,
little,
it's very interesting because CO2 is one of these things you can get from the atmosphere just by condensing everything and then distilling it out. And it's just a massive amount of energy, and it would be yet another machine, which is why everybody who can brings in trucks from Praxair or Air Liquid for these sort of things, because we don't want to run yet another distillation column. I don't want to do that. That's a bad plan, but it's definitely there, Just
I feel
distill it out.
science all around me tonight. I don't know what to do. All right. Any more comments at this time? Okay, so there'll be more discussion about the town hall concept as we move forward. So now we're gonna, you go study, son. We care about our kids. All right, thank you for being here. All right, we're gonna go ahead to public hearing, please. I'd like to open public hearing, action discussion item A, which is for resolution 1092 regarding sufficiency of instructional materials for the fiscal year of 2022 and 2023.
Good evening, members of the board. Buck Rogeman, the Director of Curriculum and Special Projects. This is a resolution that comes before the board every year. It's one that we are required by state law to bring to the board and also bring to the public. And it is a statement that we have the sufficient textbooks that are required by law for all of our classes and all of our students in grades K through 12. And I think that you can kind of read the outline and the history of the textbooks that have been adopted and matched to the various frameworks throughout the years in the board cover item as well as the resolution. I am happy to answer any questions that you may have about this topic.
Any questions?
I don't have a question. We see this every year.
Yes.
It's nice to see every year. At the end of this, we read the same thing, that it is appropriate to find at this time the district has provided sufficient textbooks and instructional materials, et cetera. So it's never come up where it said anything different, which is nice. It means you guys got it covered.
It's nice to see you in your new position advocating. So I'm
You know what? It's
happy.
nice to be seen.
It's nice. Dr. Frank?
No questions.
Okay. Public comment at this point? Okay. Anybody else in the room? Okay. So do we now close this or we take action? We are going to close this public meeting, this hearing at this particular time. Do we take action to adopt at this point?
You are welcome to move right into action if you like, or you can take public comment again if you like, but since. you just did
No,
that,
I
too.
just want to move right into action. I'm that kind of gal. Okay, I move that we accept resolution number 1092 regarding sufficiency of instructional materials for the fiscal year 2022-23.
Second.
The motion was made by Christy Dawson, seconded by Dr. I've just elevated you after all the science talk tonight. Trustee John Paff, roll call vote, please. Yes.
Aye.
Trustee Pat,
Aye.
trustee Brian Swanson.
I
Motion carries. All right, we'll now move into the district update, please, for COVID-19.
Thank you, Madam President. Not much of an update today. We're pretty much what we talked about last time is still in place. We're continuing to update and revise the COVID safety plan as appropriate. We try to review that every week just to see if there's any changes that we need to bring to the board. At this point, we're continuing forward. The only thing I can report, certainly we get the COVID-19 weekly updates from the county as of the week of August the 29th. We are continuing to see a decrease in testing positivity and case rates. The positivity is now down to 11.6 and the case rates are at 17.2 per. So the numbers are continuing to go down, which is great. I think we're seeing an increase in hospitalization, which is interesting. So if he has different numbers.
Further today.
Further today, good, even better.
better even today.
Down further?
So Trustee Paff could give us even a
Yeah,
better.
could you
update.
share with us, Dr. Paff?
You see, it's just a bookmark now on the iPad. 11.2 today
Ooh.
and 15.2 case rates.
Even better.
Oh,
Down-
that's
down
good.
4 per 100,000 since last week.
So we're at Nurse Pally again, as always, giving her credit for an amazing amount of work at the sites, helping to get the notices out when we have COVID cases happening. I think it's kind of weird in a way to see the normalization of this process, although I suspect that's what's helping us get through it. Kudos to the staff at all the school sites for the work that they're doing to help contain and mitigate as we need to. And so I'll leave it at that tonight. I don't have a lot to present.
Okay, any comments from the board?
Well, we have, we announced 2 weeks ago that we would be having some vaccination clinics.
Yes, Nurse Pally, she's still working on solidifying those dates. They're a little bit, much like the supply chain, the agencies that are supporting these, sometimes they're just having difficulty either procuring materials or getting the staffing and materials together. So she's working on it. As soon as we get it going, she'll get a notice out to everybody. So.
And well, it's too early to ask actually, but we don't know if those are the newest vaccine or we don't know yet.
Don't know yet. I know that I think I read that the newest boosters with that address the Omicron variant have just been authorized.
Yes.
So and those get distributed pretty quickly. So I'm assuming that I'm just my layman's guess would be somewhere in about 2 weeks. We've probably seen that happening.
For anyone who's really interested and follows this, the vaccination is dead solid at 72.x. And oddly, we had one less death. We had a -1 in deaths over last week. So apparently Lazarus got off. That's a little
I like to always end on death. Thank you,
It's very strange.
trustee. Yeah.
Becomes a trend, I'm gonna maybe be a little worried, but
Any comments, trustee Swanson?
other than that, no.
Right. Okay, no comment here either. Public comment.
Erica Chavez, Robert Down. I would just like some clarification and to remind maybe all of the staff, there's been some confusion with confirmed cases and whether we're still operating under the policy that was in place on March 17th last year. So maybe just a brand new return to school year reminder that when we do have a positive case, especially at the elementary school, that classroom is masking for the mandatory 10 days of isolation unless testing positive after day 5, XYZ, because that wasn't made clear at the beginning of the year. We have new teachers on staff. I think that might be a good reminder to communicate to all involved parties. Also a reminder at the upper schools that that's still what's strongly recommended. Thank you.
Okay.
If I may, just and thank
Please.
you, Ms. Chavez, appreciate that. Yes, we heard the questions and I know that Nurse Pally had been getting that information back out. For those interested, if you look on the minutes in the regular meeting of April 7 on page 11, the motion is noted there along with the exactly what Ms. Chavez was noting in regards to the whole class becomes a close contact. That did not change with the motion to remove the indoor masking mandate, which was a singular motion around a singular issue. So we'll try to get that back out again. I think Ms. Pally is working on that as well. So
Yeah, that's a good idea. As you allude to the new teachers on board, because people that were maybe here before might have a better idea, but it's good to remind. Okay, and you'll take care of that, Dr. Porras?
Yes, and it also comes out when there's a classroom notification. Nurse Pally also speaks with the teaching staff.
Perfect. All right, any other public? Beth?
Someone mentioned filters, air filters tonight. And it reminded me that we did put in some filtration, right? Last year. And I'm wondering if there was any evaluation of how, didn't he test the air and stuff as part of that installation? And I'm just wondering, like, is that going to be continuing? Do we test it occasionally? Do you report that out? It's an interesting health benefit, I think, for flu and everything else, just to have that kind of circulation. So I'm just wondering if that's still going to be reported on.
We absolutely, our incoming assistant superintendent, Josh Jorn, is rather an expert on this in the county level. And I know he's going to be bringing some of his expertise to this process as well. But we did do that testing when we first installed the systems to make sure they're working. There was a comment that no air purifiers had been provided. That's actually false. The maintenance department has provided them when they've been requested, and a number of them out in the classrooms were purchased specifically at request. So I know that if there's a concern from a classroom teacher, certainly we try to address it to the extent we can. However, the filtration systems that were installed were designed to deal with moving the air in the direction that we needed to. However, I do want to say, give us a little bit of time as we get our transition in place. And I know we're going to continue to work that way on the testing. So.
Thank you. Any other comments this evening? All right, we will move on now to resolution number 1093, commemorating the 75th anniversary of Monterey Peninsula Community College District.
Okay. I'll start us off, but I imagine that Dr. Rivera might have a vested interest in this one, so I can speak more to it. But I think this is actually a pleasure to bring this forward on behalf of all the school districts will be doing this on behalf of MPC in their celebration of 75 years. And I think the resolution itself speaks to it perfectly in regards to the service that the college has been providing the community, the successes that they've experienced. And I think the training that they provided has been remarkable. And I think it's just like at the end, it says it recognizing commends Monterey Peninsula College for its steadfast 75-year-long commitment to transforming lives through education. MPC has been an amazing partner with the school district for several years. And I know that we appreciate the work that they do in the collaboration with our classes and enrollment, dual enrollment program. And they've been a really great partner. I'll hand it off to the board. There's not much for me to say necessarily here, but I know Dr. Rivera, you might have some comments just because of your.
Please take the lead.
Not a lot. I just really thank the district for doing this. I shared this with the academic senate at MPC today, and everyone was very happy with it. And it's just nice to recognize the commitment that the MPC has had in the community and has all the partnerships with the local high schools and the dual enrollments that are going on with the local high schools. So it's not just on that campus, it's expanded to Marina. It has, partnerships with CSUMB and all the local high schools going into the high schools and just really, working for the community. And this is really special. It's really nice. Thank you so much.
Okay, any public comment at this point or additional board comment? Seeing none, go ahead.
I hear they have a really nice chemistry program there too.
They have a really nice chemistry with outstanding teaching, outstanding PhDs out there teaching our kids. I need to go there and start to try to like chemistry. All right. Thank you so much for sharing that tonight. And it's always such a benefit to have a local community college that's solid, that kids and adults and the entire community can avail themselves to. So thank you for that tonight. All right. So do we take action on adopting this, correct?
That's correct.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, the motion was made by trustee Brian Swanson, seconded by trustee John Paff. Roll call vote, please. Yes.
Vice President Rivera,
Aye.
Trustee Pat,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we'll move on, please, to the plan for the arts, music, and instructional materials discretionary block grant.
Thank you, President Dawson. At the last board meeting, we shared with the board about 3 grants approved by the governor that will impact community school districts or basically school district like ours. And this is one of them. And this is one of the grants that requires for us to present a plan, an expenditure plan to the board. So what you have here, I can share with the board if you want, but they're pages, only 2-pager.
Please.
In the board.
Thank you, Song.
Okay. So can I, oh, am I? Okay. Okay. So this is on page 120 of the board packet. At the top is $1,038,935. It looks very exact, but I know in the end it will not be this exact figure. This is by School Services of California. The State Department has not released the funding yet. This block grant can be spent by 25-26, so that's good. Give us, school districts 3-year period to spend this money. What we've done is we met with our management team at least twice, and they have worked with the school site support staff and teachers to come up with a plan and what they find it really absolutely necessary where we don't have the funding for. So although it says discretionary plan, it's not so much for day-to-day, for consumables, it's a little bit for items, for things can last it long. So it's somewhat in between, not really structural, not really consumable, but somewhere in between. So the first one, and we just did it in just not necessarily mean that's the more important things, but we just put it in that kind of order. It's not ranked by importance, but it's ranked by when the requests come in. District-wide and district office, we talk about scanning, archiving services. This is one thing that I think the district should have, and we just never had the funding. Is critical for us to take care of not just current documents, but also past documents, for security reasons. Human resources and payroll, we have really files and, boxes and boxes of documents. So I think it's important for us to do that, but also for us to digitize, just to keep it, it's required by law anyway. As we've experienced, one of the cases recently, that we could go back to 40 years. So this is it's just an estimate. We don't know yet. When we finally go out to ask for quote, for an estimate, it could go higher, it could go lower, just as our best estimate. The next group is just really a big classification of what we call emergency supplies. Could be personal protective equipment, food, water, radios. It could be uniforms and other things under this big umbrella of safety. And again, it's an estimate. I guess I'm sure when we drill down to details, it could go higher, and very rarely it goes lower. But this is, again, is an estimate. Time in attendance, and you're going to see that at a request in the next board item. This is, I think, is very important, that we'll get this money back, returns in many folds. Saves times, avoid errors. This is just an estimate. 83, the actual cost for this year, because we're going to implement this after the board has approved this. So it's going to be by mid-September. So the cost is a little bit less than that. District-wide furniture, this is a request that comes every year. If it's a new class, what we need. So we just set aside an estimate of $40,000. We say for 2 years. Who knows? Whether perhaps it could go 3 years, but with the cost of items, with inflation, this could probably last us 1.5 years, or maybe even a year. But that, again, this is the best we can do at this point. And it goes down to next few groups, high school, community high school, middle school, Robert Down and Forest Grove. I just want to mention that we broke this down, the music and arts by its sub-categories, but they could apply to all the 4 schools as well. So not just music, for example, it could apply to any of the 4 schools. But the high school and community high school alone, just for this part, we said the requests, $14,000 for furniture, chairs, and desks, and the whiteboards. But before I go into further, I just want to say that not everybody has their wishes fulfilled. Request is only so much funding. We look at priority, and granted that there was still a little bit room, as you see when you see the total, and we can always come back to the board. So just want to say, I know a lot of people are probably watching this and just anxious. And this is something that really the school sites need for a long time. And it's good that we have this extra money to help staff. The next group is middle school. Talk about the science camp. This has been a challenge for years, fundraising for 5th graders going to the 6th grades. They go to science camp, and typically happens around January. We figure it's about $10,000. This is just for 1 year. So it gives plan for the sites to plan for 23, 24, at least to get it through for this January, if the fundraising doesn't come through. Obviously, all the kids who can afford to pay, they do pay. This is only for kids who cannot come out with the money. So this will help, so that any kid who really wants to go, they get to go. And then it was soccer goal replacement, $4,500. And I believe this one, the PO has been in place. It can happen. As long as the board does not disapprove this item, it can go forward first before the plan goes in front of on the board. And a storage unit, $5,000. Robert Down also storage containers. That seems to be very common for other school sites, is raised storage, because real estate is expensive. We don't have enough classrooms, enough portables. But there's one area for us to get extra storage. And then with audio speaker, $20,000. For Forest Grove, again, you can see storage units again, instruments, and also for additional classroom and library books and supplies, $5,000. And then additional collection for diversity and equities, an additional $3,000. Going down to music, I won't go through every one of them. I think they're very important. The total amount is about $170,000. I think it also speaks to the fact that, you know, we have operational costs, we have per pupil, but that money only can go so far. So whenever we have this one-time funds, you can see other requests come in, a lot from the music departments. Going in storage, again, MacBook, PAC, choral risers, and so on and so on. And they'll detail on the list from 9A through N. And the next group is arts. It's a little bit $22,000. Again, this is again, it's a request that that we couldn't have funded from a regular per pupil allocation, and this funding really comes in handy. PE, because this grant also speaks to not just arts, music, but also PE, is a little bit over $29,000. As you can see, the equipment and also high school basketball hoops. And then we have two extra categories that we want to stretch it a little bit. The textbook instructional materials, we say $175,000. We say for 3 years to help really augment gaps in funding, because we have unrestricted general fund. We also have lottery funds, but it's never enough, especially when adoption. Director Rogerman has come up with a plan about, you know, the adoption plan on a yearly basis, and also what other classroom and instruction supplies that we need. And then with this dovetails into how much, you know, that can help the two funding sources that we currently have. And then the last part is about stirs and PERS and operational costs. Again, this grant says block grant and discretionary funding. It is the board discretion what you can spend and what you want to spend it on. We just say, you know, stirs and PERS. The state has not set aside fundings. This is one area the governor very clearly said you can spend it to buy down your stirs and PERS and other costs. So with that, the total is $905,000 at this point. And again, the allocation could change. But when we make major changes, any substantial changes, we can always bring back to the board for another approval. Any questions?
Well, does this all have to be spent in 2022, 2023?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely.
2025 was the. right?
25, 26, yes.
Done it over 3 years.
Yeah, that's correct.
It is, okay. Then clearly you said that, I apologize. I appreciate very much this list, and if we all set our own, we would come up with something. There's a tendency to try and say, oh, no, I really want, no, enough. The choral performance shell, the one we have, is kind of clearly a homebrew. So it would be really nice to have something that's a little more professional into that facility, something that can be taken down. The risers, the storage for music has been on the list for a long, long time. And I appreciate all that. One thing in the arts, and again, I'm trying not to do too much. Any consumables that can be purchased in advance, art is a consuming resource, generally speaking. So if anything that if we end up with there, and there's there's 133,728 left over, which coincidentally is exactly the amount John had in his maintenance. So great job. Thank you very much.
Swimming
And again, without
artistic.
trying to say this is my personal thing, I think I really appreciate that you had a lot of people put input into this to get these sort of numbers. So 50,000 for pack updates is a starting point. So as we know, but thanks.
Trustee Brian.
So this again, it's like this is all malleable to a certain degree, right? And site principals were consulted when you guys went over this as to what they needed. Is that how you guys came up with the different things?
Yes, they came up with a list. Like I said earlier, not every item has been, fulfilled, and just again, based on priority.
Okay.
So pretty much, I think.
Okay. I had a couple questions just as I went through the list about some things that I didn't understand. And if you don't know, that is also an acceptable answer. What is it? Any idea what a Lightspeed Red Cat audio speaker is? That must be an
Uh-oh.
amazing speaker. for
I know
20
someone
grand.
who knows.
Good evening, Sean Keller, principal at Robert Down Elementary School. Much like this microphone, a Red Cat has a microphone that hangs around the teacher's neck, and there's a speaker in the classroom. So the teacher can speak just like this and not yell, and the students can hear what he or she is saying.
Right. And I think Ms. Chavez said numerous of these, right?
Yes, multiple around campus.
Okay.
All-
Any
every
idea how
single
many
classroom.
we get for 20 grand?
I'm sorry?
Any idea how many we get for 20 grand?
Well, it depends on what we want to do. I've been speaking with Mr. Villagomez, who is our computer tech
Mhm.
on site. And there's two things when I spoke with the consultant. They have older versions that are selling cheap and selling fast, or we can get upgraded versions. And so I wanted him to do an assessment of what we needed. And obviously, if we go with the cheaper version, we'll be able to get more, but no replacement parts because those will phase out. So if we get the upgraded ones, then not as many classrooms will be able to get them, but they'll work. And we did a very similar thing last year when we assessed the Red Cats. And Mr. Morrison at the high school was very gracious in giving us monies for new mics. So we'll just see where we're at and use the money accordingly and possibly give back, because that's how we are at Robert Down. We love our
Wow.
district.
Wow.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. Let me see what else I had. A couple other things, I think. I mean, I know a song that some of these, again, it's like, I looked at some of the instrument oriented things and microphone things. These are thumbnail numbers. It's like if you're looking at a, microphone system or a Kurzweil keyboard, you're gonna get the best deal that you can. And I know you guys shop around. So the only other thing was I echoed Trustee Paff's observation that there is potentially leftover money that could probably be well spent on, what was it again? Oh, yeah, the pool, maybe. So that's, yeah. So, all right, well, thank you for the presentation. It's great.
Song?
Madam
Oh.
Dawson, so since this was pool was talked about, and I'm going to just digress a little bit, talk about, because this is the first time that we talk about a vision, instead of reactionary about the pool. Past, at least for me, the past 4 years is always because of usage. And I think for once we can prioritize, but one area we have is also Fund 40 next 15, September 15, when presented on all the actuals, you can see that as one area. Because we just want to wait Mr. Anderson to come up with a plan first. We talk about this. There are, some other ways to help.
Oh, sounds promising. I'll be at that board meeting. We like that. Good news. I have a question about 100 blue PGMS polos. Are those the shirts? Is that part of the choir? Is that what that means?
Yes, it's like a uniform.
Okay. And my question about that was, like the camp, do sometimes parents just buy that for their kid and it's there? Yeah. So the 5,000, it's for kids that need help to get it.
That's
right.
correct.
So we
That's
just
correct.
have that little cushion as a scholarship.
That's correct.
Perfect. All right. That was my question. Sir?
The Red Cat sounds cool. I need one for my home.
Yeah.
My kids. I'm glad to see that our Performing Arts Center is getting, a good chunk there. The music libraries, that big number. What is the music library system? Is that just like in a?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
It sounds
Trustee
like a
Pat
big
knows.
number. Who knows
No,
about that?
Actually, I support that we should be doing something. We have a bazillion little file cabinets that music is placed into in various locations, and probably not just at the middle school, but probably at every school. There's various file cabinets with such things. And this is a system that is actually designed specifically to hold this. It gets kind of interesting because you don't have to think very far down the road. I mean, I don't carry sheet music anymore. I put it on an iPad. And for professional pianists, it's what I see now seems to be mixed. And there's a foot pedal that goes with it. So automatically turn pages, you just click your foot and things. So, but nonetheless, for what we have, we're not going to digitize. And we do need a storage system. And right now, the back room, the green room and the behind the stage is just overwhelming. So a system to do it helps a lot.
Are you talking specifically middle school at this
I
point?
think it's across the board. I mean,
Is
we're
it?
looking for storage.
You might know
Wenzel
that.
is actually at the
Well,
middle school.
actually, Assistant Superintendent Shin Ben Dib asked me to talk to the music department when this all started.
Yeah.
So when I sent out just an email asking for their input, the music teacher at the middle school came back with, she would want something very similar that they currently have at the high school. And Dr. Warren at the high school reiterated that they need this as well. So that's what this is a storage system for them.
Okay, and it already exists with the high school and it works well, and the middle school would like to replicate
Dr. Warren
that.
stated that he has it in that Barbara needed at the middle school.
Okay. All right.
Okay, and then, yeah, the basketball hoops, I'm sure it's more than just the hoop. Those would be expensive hoops.
They're gold encrusted.
Learned that pottery wheels could be expensive. I didn't know that. But I do appreciate just where it's stated in the front ad that this was an effort that the site leaders asked the teachers for their input, and then there was a proper prioritizing. So it was everybody's input and their wish list. So I appreciate that.
Okay, any public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'm just gonna close saying I can't wait for that little tidbit that's coming up on September 16th. So thank you so much. All right.
I make a motion that we accept.
Yes, thank you.
recommendation
Seconded.
for a Plan for arts, music, and instructional materials discretionary block grant.
Second. Motion was made by trustee John Path, seconded by Christy Dawson. Roll call vote, please.
President Dawson,
Yes.
Vice President Rivera,
Aye.
Trustee Pat,
Yes.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we'll move on to the contract with Frontline Education for the implementation of time and attendance module.
Thank you, President Dawson. There was item number 3 earlier when the board just approved. And this is where we are going to enter into a contract, asking for board's approval. We're going to start the process. It's going to take about 2 weeks. It's on page 122. It says the total cost, initial cost is $6,962.61. And I know when we go into a new service, something this is elaborate like this, it may need a little bit training. Therefore, that's why we asked for $8,300 just in case for training. And this is for timesheets, it involves all the school sites. And I think it would be, we got unanimous vote from everybody. This is really a good investment. So with that, any questions?
All right, questions. Trustee Swanson.
No, I know we've taken a look at this before. We knew it was coming and I'm glad that we're there.
Yeah. Trustee Path.
And just making sure I'm clear here. One of the goals of this is to not have to manually input time cards for all of our hourly employees across the board, right?
Right. They still enter into a system, but not on a piece of paper.
So there's
That's
no
correct.
double entry and there's
That's
no
correct.
handing them into the office. They're doing it on their own.
That's right.
Perfect. Thank
When
you
it's
very much.
done, we can upload into a financial system.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know we just approved for a position or extra for the manual part, and we were saying we need something. Welcome to the new millennia. So I'm glad that we're doing this, and I know there's going to be plenty of work for the extra help that we're hiring for manually putting it in. So glad to see this coming down.
Absolutely. Good work. Any comments from the public? May I entertain a motion?
Also move.
Second.
Motion was made by trustee Brian Swanson, seconded by trustee Frank Rivera. Roll call vote.
President Dawson,
Yes.
Vice President Rivera,
Yes.
Trustee Pat,
Yes.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next, we'll move on to the agreement with Monterey County Office of Ed, Transportation Department.
Lito Garcia, Principal PG High, just when you thought we were done talking about the pool.
We don't want to ever stop.
No comment. We provided transportation for our water polo players to CSUMB. And we entered into an agreement with MCOE to provide that transportation. And so they bused our students for opportunities so that they could practice. So that's what I'm bringing forward this evening. So this has already occurred, but we needed to get that transportation and get them there as quickly as possible.
Well, we were very thankful that they helped out.
Absolutely.
That was wonderful at no cost. So I have no comment other than a huge thank you to you for scrambling and the college for helping. Other comments?
This is a ratification of something that's already happened, so. and
Okay.
We're not using it in the future, so.
No, we saw those pictures, how good the water looked, thank goodness. Okay, any public comment on this? Okay, I move that we accept the agreement with Monterey County Office of Ed Transportation Department.
Second.
Motion was made by Christy Dawson, seconded by John Paff. Could I have a roll call vote, please? Yes.
Aye.
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 Okay, we'll do the board calendar, future meetings, and then the walk-on, or? Oh, let's do walk-on first. I like that calendar at the end. So we have a walk-on this evening, which is item H. And that is the independent consultant agreement with Brody Haig Landscape Architecture.
You
Sean
note the-
Keller,
Can
is
you
that
note, can you note who's presenting? I'm sorry.
Sean
I don't-
Keller,
It's Sean.
proud principal?
I'm so sorry. Yes, Sean Keller, Robert Town.
Just stay by that podium, please.
I will.
Okay.
Yes, so this is for Brody Haig, correct? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Haig was fortunately the only consultant to get back to me for our brick project. He is a landscape architect, and luckily he was a friend of one of our parents who thought she could help us, but unfortunately she could not. So she reached out to Brody. I reached out myself. I went out to I'm forgetting their name now. The big construction company in Seaside. Granite Rock, thank you. I went up to them and I asked if they had any help, and they had a huge list. I started calling for landscape designers and nobody got back to me. So Mr. Haig finally got back to me, and he has presented his proposal. I had it checked out by Assistant Superintendent Chin Bendib and also Mr. Anderson, and they both felt like it was a good deal. And I think we're ready to move forward. I'm really hoping that his rendering can be part of our advertising, because I think that's one piece that's missing, so people could understand what it's going to look like and how many bricks we need. So I'm hoping once he has the rendering finished, I can have kind of that thermostat thing of, hey, we need more bricks, and get it out there. Luckily, we got it into the PG High Knockout 2, which is their alumni newsletter. A little blurb got in there, but I want the rendering in there. And the local newspaper, the PG Bulletin, has been very gracious in giving us free advertising. So I'm hoping that it'll be in there as well. And through Facebook and all the social media, and have a great little safe passageway with no more dirt and sand on our steps there.
Okay, sounds good. Board questions, please.
I have none, thanks.
Trustee Brian?
Not a question, just a comment. I think the price is great. I mean, I wish our front steps came in like at that fee, so.
We have a lot of-
I think the thing to recognize actually is that it's funded from the same source, actually from the bricks themselves, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's not.
and again,
it's
I'm
not
trying
on
to make
specs like
this
us.
little advertisement out there to the community, try to make this affordable for families. I understand COVID's been a huge hit. If you look at other brick campaigns, it's twice, if not 4 times the amount. So I want the community to know where we're pricing this at a great level, and buy someone a brick for Christmas or the holidays or whatever you celebrate. But I do want to be clear, this is just the designer, and I will be coming back with another contract for the installation with Terabella.
Still gonna be cheaper than what I've paid.
Okay.
How are you doing on the bricks, by the way? How are they?
You know,
doing?
unfortunately, I had to call them because I thought we had several hundred sold, because when I go online, it has a number for each brick. And I just went with the first number and the last number. And then I realized that that doesn't make sense because it just didn't seem the right. So I counted them all up and it was only 63 at that point in time. There could be more by now, now that it's out there with the Alumni Association. But when I called the company, they told me that they don't have numbers for individual bricks, it's for them. So for every brick campaign that they're sponsoring, every single brick that's sold gets a number.
Oh.
Right, so,
Okay.
yeah, unfortunately, we only have about 63 sold. And honestly, in my rendering, in my head, it was several hundred we needed.
Okay.
If not more, so
Could you remind me the price, please?
it's a good question.
50, 60, 80.
Yeah.
50 or 75?
Yeah. And the more expensive ones are 8x8. There
Oh, okay.
there's a little bit more expensive if you have your own personal art or your child's or grandchild's art.
Okay.
They can draw it, but it has to be within this little frame. So
The rendering's probably a great idea because you want to market to what you need.
exactly.
So wonderful idea.
And is that up on the PGUSD site right now too, or done the?
No, we're approving the contract now. So
No, I mean the campaign.
I don't know if I have a link, honestly. I know the PTA has it through their website.
Okay. If you think of it, and could just send me the link again. I'll
Okay.
push it out to, I have 3 or 4 friends.
Sure.
And I'll.
It's in
send
my
it to
principal
them.
update. Every week, it's in the principal update.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it might be a
Okay.
good idea to have.
Wait a sec.
Like a
Don't you leave. Remember I
No,
said you have to
no,
stay at the
no,
podium.
No
Sorry.
question. This is just a statement. Thank you for doing that. Not only making it safer, but kind of a beautification of that area
Right.
there. And it might be a nice idea to maybe towards in that area, like have a booth there during the butterfly bazaar saying.
You're reading my mind.
Wow.
It's her to volunteer to man the booth.
Yeah, he'll do it. Okay. And all right. Okay, so seconded. So a motion was made by trustee John Paff, seconded by Christy Dawson. Roll call vote, please. Yes.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. We will now move on to board calendar of future meetings, please.
Thank you, Madam President. We've added a page to this calendar, page 133. We are drafted out board meetings all the way through the end of the school year. And obviously they'll, as trustee Brian says, it's malleable. There may be some changes if necessary. You will also note that I'm going to attempt to make June 1st the last meeting of the year. And so there was a time when I think we can work a little more efficiently. I'm trying to get some of the contracts together and try to get it finished early on. Lots going to depend on the budget and the LCAP, obviously, in regards to being able to pass, but we're going to see what we can do. I spoke with a couple folks at the county office in regards to assistance. And so we're going to make it an attempt of it, see what we can do. There was a time that we used to actually end on the 1st with the last meeting. So in any event, it's a goal. So we'll see how it plays out.
Goals are good. All right, any other comments, questions?
I have a question for Song. And I'm going through this, and actually I have a question for John later too, but it's another story. The TRAN resolution is on here constantly. And yet I see that there is $2.8 billion that Monterey County is holding for us. Has anybody done a local TRAN? And it's kind of off topic from our meeting, but if there's something that can be done instead of the TRAN, we get diddly back from Monterey County in terms of interest, and we actually pay money for the TRAN. That's how it's related. is there any other mechanism within the county? I mean, if they're holding 2.8 billion bucks, there ought to be some money to float people for 30 days at a time.
We can resurrect this. We did ask this before. There were certain conditions that we had to do. We definitely can, as you have to start certain process and you have to have a resolution by the board. And they have a fixed pot of money for how much they can loan to school districts.
And I realize that's a March 2nd meeting, but nonetheless, it's in advance. Okay, thank you. That's it.
All right, so we need to take action on this?
Yes, please.
All right, public comment at this point? I move we accept the board calendar for future meetings.
Second.
Motion was made by Christy Dawson, seconded by Dr. Frank Rivera. Roll call vote, please.
President Dawson.
Yes.
Vice President Rivera.
Aye.
Trustee Pat.
Aye.
Trustee Sharp.
Motion carries unanimously, and we will now move on to information discussion with Ms. Martinez.
Hey, everybody, Barbara Martinez, Director of Safety and Principal, proud principal of Pacific Grove Adult School. It's time to have our first quarterly safety update to the board. So I'd like to give you a little idea of what we've done so far to date this year, actually towards the end of last year and then up to date now in this year. What we're working on now, it's very exciting stuff, and where we're going in the future. So with further ado, go ahead, Liz. Thank you. So last March, all of the administrators got together for a training update for Big Five with Molly Hendricks. She came down and we've got some really good insight, unfortunately due to some of the tragedies that have happened, which led to some of the trainings that we've had with our administrators in how we train our teachers and our students to go through our safety protocols. So we've had our new teacher training on the 29th of July, where we reviewed all of the new Big Five trainings protocols and age appropriate activities. At the beginning of the year, the first week of school, we partner with Pacific Grove Police Department in Operation Safe Schools. We want to let you know that everything went swimmingly.
Oh, more pool talk.
So they patrolled the school areas very closely in the morning and after school to make sure that traffic safety was of the utmost importance. We went ahead and we posted the back to school traffic and safety pedestrian tips, and that is on our website. If you go ahead and open it, just to give you a brief, I sent all of you the PowerPoint so that you can peruse all of these links on your own. There's several links in this PowerPoint. But these are some of and so we posted the traffic and safety reminders on our website, and we sent them to parents as well in a catapult message, just to remind them. We still have a lot of work to do in front of some of our schools. We just don't have adequate parking and drop off areas. You know, in front of Robert Down in the middle school, specifically the high school, I sat there as I, stepped in to be crossing guard on several occasions, and we're still doing U-turns on Sunset and Lighthouse, not Lighthouse, and Pine, and they're running stop signs. So more and more work just needs to be done in training our parents to be able to know what to do as they drop off and pick up their children. Okay, so if we could hit the website, I just want to give you a couple of information items on how we've updated our safety the tab on the safety tab of our district website. We've added the Big Five safety protocol packet, the training packet, just so that parents would have access to what we're showing our teachers, what we're telling our teachers to be able to do inside the classroom to work with our children, as well as the administrator packet. There's two different packets, right? We don't really want to bombard the teachers with all of the forms that are necessary to do the training and the planning purposes of our safety protocols, but we've added them for you, and it's quite informative. So if you get a minute or 30, click on the tab and go through. I think you'll find it enlightening. And then if you scroll down, you'll see all of this the resources that we still have available. The, if you, is it 988? You scroll down to, yeah, right there. Go up. It's the new suicide prevention hotline. Instead of knowing the number, you can go ahead and just dial 3 numbers, just like 411, but except it's 988. Okay, and I think I'm okay with that. We are still looking for permanent crossing guards. We've hired Michael back. Michael Logan is doing a fantastic job down at the 5-way stop sign, as well as Rachel Croft at the high school on 19th and Sunset. And we do have some permanent employees at Robert Down and some classified employees stepping up to the plate, getting extra hours at the middle school. So, and I want to thank all of the administrators and the extra staff who have volunteered their time just to ensure that our kids are getting to school and getting home safely. Okay, so, and to continue that, in order to ensure that all staff and students and community members even are well-versed in our safety guidelines, our school sites have set their coffee with the principal safety meetings, as well as their staff meetings the first week of school, just to review the protocols and to give the community an idea of how we plan and how we keep our kids safe. Our Pacific Grove Police Department has also met with Dr. Porras and myself. They're very interested in meeting with our school staff in our immediate response to crisis on campus from a law enforcement perspective. They want our teachers and classified and certificated staff members. They want to be able to really let them know what they can expect should they have to come on campus. It's good knowledge for them. And so they're meeting with them during staff meetings as well. So continuing to build safe communities, go back one if you could. Our police department, they are really doing some great community policing activities. They've added activities. We're expanding the DARE program into the middle school, grades 6 through 8. They've met with all of our site principals, most of them, specifically the middle school. They're planning some community events such as community movie nights, game nights, coffee with a cop. They're going to continue to do Special Olympics and the bicycle rodeos coming up. That's at Robert Down. And we open gym night, Youth Academy. They're also going to partner with us and several districts, and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit later, in the Peninsula Safety Team Collaborative. And they are working with school administrators to conduct safe school assessments and safety plans in order to mitigate and do some preventative maintenance to keep our schools safe. So I'm going to go ahead and you can go. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a taste. This right here is it's called the REMS. It's the Readiness Emergency Management System. There's 4 phases in planning. So all of our administrators use this in planning their incident command response to crisis on campus, right? So you need these 4 elements in order to make sure that everything is really analyzed and looked at. So we've got mitigation and prevention, preparedness, recovery, and response. I'd like to go ahead and just talk a little bit about the preparedness part, right? Because this is where we train our staff and students on the drills and the emergency response. We talk about, we've included trauma-informed developmentally appropriate curriculum at all levels. And this is where it's different. And this is the exciting part for me, because I've been in education, well, 28 years now. The last 15, probably completely doing safety as a safety director. And in my experience and my observation in training teachers about emergency response, you know, it's a learning curve for me too. I've observed elementary school teachers with high anxiety when you're teaching about active shooter. And in 14 years ago, I'd say, suck it up. You're in the classroom and you have to teach. And I was very hard on it, right? But now it's like, wow, you know, here's my learning curve. So we've really looked at these trauma-informed practices, and we're teaching elementary kids and middle school kids like we teach academics, it's scaffold, right? So you really want to start with the littles in a language that's good for them. Like when I took over preschools, I learned about rabbit in a hole. I'm like, what the heck is rabbit in a hole? You know, when you're teaching, earthquake drills, right? And it's like you get under the table and it's rabbit in a hole and all the kids are going under the table and that's the language that they understand, right? And you're keeping them calm. And then, when I show you my next slide, I had so much to say, but I'm so excited. I want to get into it. But, when you get into, and we have the Think on Your Feet, Pete, at the elementary, at the kindergarten through elementary level. And there's some really rich vocabulary and curriculum that you can have conversations with kids with. And then when you get into middle school, you want to maybe review that, right? Curriculum and vocabulary. And then you might want to do some tabletop activities. And then when you get into the high school level, you want to build on that even. And then you have these rich conversations of, let's talk about what we would do if someone came in on campus. And we walk through these drills, right? We're not going to run. We're not going to get crazy in crisis, like, block the door, this and that. Like, we're going to really prepare and talk about like assigning roles to certain kids who are willing to do this. You might have 4 kids be in charge of, bringing down the blinds or the shades, or, just, doing different roles within the classroom during times of crisis. So go ahead and switch and see where we are. Okay, so if you want to click, if you see these 3 tabs, I'm just going to click on this is something new on our staff packet. If you click on the trauma informed, you want my computer? Can you get in? It's a PowerPoint. Can I give you my computer?
No, it's good.
So I'm just going to skip to the next page until I'll come back to that so I can keep rolling. So some very exciting news.
Is that
I'd just like, this is the Peninsula Safety Team collaboration. We've partnered with PGUSD and with Carmel. So I meet with Dave Deal and Cassandra from Carmel, we're safety directors. We got this idea from the MCOE Coalition for Healthy and Safe School Communities, which is very exciting. Their first meeting is going to be on September 14th. This is from the County Office of Education. And this whole idea comes to you from this big 5, when I brought it down from San Mateo County Office of Education, right? We know that we want common language amongst all of our school districts. So PGUSD will use the same common language in their safety protocols. When law enforcement rolls in and they have an issue, every school site will have pretty much the same protocols, and they'll know it. They'll know what exactly is planned in Monterey, in Carmel, in all up and down Monterey County. And so it's a multi-agency approach, right, to crisis on campus and threat assessments. So you're bringing in CPS, and you're bringing in probation, and you're bringing in all mental health experts from Montage. You're bringing in school administration and teachers. You're bringing in parents and counselors and psychologists. You're bringing in a multi level approach to helping kids, right? So this is really exciting work. So I just wanted to show you that. Are you in? Awesome sauce. Okay, so I'm going to come up here because I can't see. Can I do that?
Right there too.
Oh, I can do that.
It's even closer.
Okay, so this is for all grades. And then as you scroll, you're gonna see, this is the coolest thing, like when we would say to teachers, this is how we're going to handle these 5 protocols, when we have an earthquake, when we shelter in place, when we are gonna have a lockdown, these are the procedures, but we never really gave them, the what or the how, right? They had to develop it themselves, right? And so with a trauma-informed approach, this is for all grades. So to be prepared for the crisis, we're gonna prepare them. We're gonna train everybody on all of the protocols. And the students, we're gonna practice grounding and calming skills. Every single school site has all of this already in place. Elementary schools have the toolbox, middle school has theirs, the high school has theirs. And then a response to crisis, staff remains calm, the students get their calming skills and exercises, parents are involved, they know the skill, they're talking to their kids at the dinner table about what they would do if they've read the packet. So the community, the staff, and the students are well prepared. Okay, if you can move up. This is the cool part. So we have kindergarten and pre-K. These are developmental considerations. Students require adult guidance. We engage in stories. We have Think on Your Feet Pete here. No prior knowledge of the big 5 or actions. And then for students, what we want to do is we really want to give visuals. We want to make sure the posters are available. We use the books. And then for staff, we want to model, because if the kinders and the littles see our anxiety, if our teachers are saying, get under the windows and shut the blinds and this and that, and the kids are going to be like, oh, but if you practice calm and you model calm, they'll be calm. Okay, and then we go up, and then you'll see 1st to 4th grade considerations. You'll see middle school. So if you scroll up even to middle school, you'll see it scaffolds. So basically what you want to do is you want to encourage families, for parents, encourage families to discuss the big 5. We give clear instructions and follow the protocols. And review up. And then we have 9 to 12, where they're going either further into deep conversations, doing tabletop activities. And we really, what we've learned too is with lockdown barricade, we don't practice that anymore with students in the physical sense. We practice it with staff, and we talk about what would happen. We want to reduce that anxiety. Should something happen, they really do need to know. So we do a lot of talking, a lot of discussion, and then the teachers are in charge of their classroom, and they get the most practice. Okay, and then we want to, this is really cool too. So now we've included inclusive where we never did before. Inclusive practices. These are students who have developmental needs, cognitive needs. They have maybe auditory needs where they can't hear. And so for all of the safety protocols, we give recommendations for inclusion. So for students who have visual or auditory needs, we give the teachers clues, cues. Use visual signs in conjunction with verbal commands, sign language, flashlights on to secure the student's attention. If they can't move, students on crutches, canes, or walkers, wheelchairs, we give them direction where we never have before. And it's all online too. And then we have cognitive developmental needs, sensory autism needs. These are students who have special needs that need special attention, and we give the resources to the teachers to help them. And then the big 5 one-pager, the cool thing about this page is that we used to, so we used to just have the what. We used to have, this is what happens when you shelter in place. This is what happens when you do a lockdown barricade. we had the when. Shelter in place happens when. This is what happens when. But what we didn't have was the what. Now we're giving ideas and clues to teachers. We have, you do this when, but this is what you do. Right? They used to have to think of it on their own or just practice it and get it from their principal in a verbal somehow, or it was written on some other plan. But now it's inclusive in the plan, so much more information, but it's practical information with common language. And then, okay, so I just want to thank Song for really taking the time to include safety in this grant. When Song met with the site leaders and said, we're going to get $1 million for this grant, I said, well, we need some money for safety because we got a lot of work to do. And so we put together this safety needs assessment, and we talked about, where we need staffing in safety, materials and supplies that each site needs that needs to be replaced. In the 14 years that I've been here, we haven't replaced any of the materials and supplies, the go bags, the kits, any of the items that are old or tattered, such as the emergency vests, such as the evacuation materials. All of those items need to be, we have to do a needs assessment among the sites. So what we did, if you take a look at the screen, if you could even scroll to, like blinds. I'm getting emails from teachers, from principals saying, I don't have any blinds in these classrooms. And are we going to go blinds? Are we going to go shades? Are we going to go tinting? But so this is what we did. So we said all of the school sites, and then how many classrooms you have. And we just started to throw spaghetti on the wall. What might you need? So we had window coverings. Keep going down. Scroll, scroll, scroll. We've got radios. We've got lanterns. We found out that we needed lanterns when we had blackouts at the preschools. So we just said, okay. Batteries, go kits, things like the tourniquets, right? Stop the bleed. We've got the MREs. These haven't been replaced. They get brand new MREs were in classrooms 2 years before I got here. So they're 16 years old now. I don't think the Band-Aids have any kind of adhesive on them anymore. The districts never had these, but we need these. These are for the incident command plan. And when we have an incident commander, or we have who's in charge of transportation, or who's going to be the liaison, or who's going to be in the finance, everyone needs to be identifiable by law enforcement. So we don't have any of these, but we need them. Safety signage. We've had schools contact me for additional safety signage. And then this Raptor is an example of a reunification app that has been successful in other school districts. It actually lets their parent know where they are immediately should we have a, like a run, hide, fight, or a look, listen, and leave situation. But right now, this is just a list, and we're meeting with our site principals to talk about priority. Then we're going to put numbers to this, but I want to thank Song for the 120,000. It might be 500,000 that would we need the need. I'm just saying, but we just don't know. I mean, if we're going to throw in radios here, and we're going to throw in blinds, and we're going to throw in surveillance, if you're all going to scoop that into safety, then money needs to be put into safety. And just as much as the pool is a priority, the safety of our kids is a priority. And we really do need to ramp up our safety. We haven't done it. And I believe it's thank you time. So do you have any questions?
Yeah. Can we start down here, Brian?
We can. Thank you for the presentation. Really thorough. It's a lot of stuff, just threads that we can pull on here, and I think we will as we go through the school year. But I just wanted to say I appreciate the enthusiasm that you bring to it. And as you were beginning the presentation, I thought back to a couple of years ago when during a board meeting we had like a little earthquake, just a tiny tremor, but do you remember that? Because you were on it right away. It's like, it's like you live and breathe it and you have such a passion for it. And that's really heartening to see, because it's just you're thinking about all the different angles all the time and there's so much to cover. But I'm glad we have you here for that. And yeah, how we find the money to do all that, we struggle with that with everything that we do, but we have to talk about it and figure out and prioritize and work our way through it. It starts with this. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Barbara, thank you. I echo what Brian said there. Appreciate the presentation. And my real thought here was that the evolution over time of what we're seeing and the fact that today you're describing things in language and saying, look, the scaffold is the word I wrote down, frankly.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. That's actually kind of new. We've had a couple incidents this year, a helicopter landing at Robert Down. And the report I got back, I had a couple letters. But really the report was things were handled exceptionally well, which I really thought played to the strength of people who have been pushing on this and saying this. And they don't, this isn't fun flight. This is life flight, so it's serious. Someone's bringing that in for a very serious reason. In fact, I was thinking about it. I'm surprised there aren't a lot more at the middle school, given that there's an ambulance twice a week, in the evening at the manor there. I don't have any questions. I appreciate that you've put this together and the update. There's lots of little stuff in there, but thank you very much. Thanks for the presentation tonight.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I wanted to comment also on the addition of the packet to the district website. I think one of the things that was very appealing to me tonight was as you went through with the different procedures, the involvement of parents and those conversations, not only educating the parents as to the language and the way things are handled at the different levels, but just the ability that our kids in this particular time just have to have this knowledge and the calmness and just knowing how things should unfold is wonderful. But great presentation. I just appreciate it so much. And I did not know about the bunny in the hole. And I don't know when I can use it since my kids are like really old like me, but it's good to know. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the presentation. It's unfortunate that we have to have this preparedness. We didn't when I was in school, but I love, as Trustee Path alluded to, the evolution of this is now that we're starting to think, okay, we want to prepare for this without producing anxiety for our children, because they're kids. They just want to go to school and learn and have fun. So I really appreciate that. And I'm so grateful with our partnership that we have with the police department and the DARE program, the bike rodeo, our SRO. I think that's a wonderful partnership that we have going on. Thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome. And if I can just extend on that, I learn things every day and just learn new little nuances to the training. And one site administrator, I'll share two things. One site administrator said, with our littles, even with our high schoolers, let's just not use the bell. Let's do a silent walkthrough of this drill, because just the noise it gives people anxiety. And everyone's quick to run during a fire drill. So we now teach look, listen, and leave. Like when the fire drill runs out, that could be the bad guy pulling the drill. So you really you stick your head out the door, you look around, you listen, see if you hear anything. And if it's all clear, then you go. You're not just rushing to the evacuation site, And then our friend from Monterey Peninsula Unified School District, Joe Sampson at Ford Elementary, just really wanted to share what his PowerPoint and how he teaches this to his littles. And so I sent that to Irene and to Sean today. And I said, modify it. It's a great presentation. We're not all here, trying to make our own. We can share practices, and it brings our community together. So thank you.
I have another question.
Oh, one more second here.
Barbara, you said that we're still seeing U-turns down Sunset, which, I mean, did
All
my,
the
did my
time.
hair light on fire when that happens? Because it drives me crazy. And Pine Avenue in particular, things. And it is,
And the back of Robert Down State is pretty dangerous, that stop sign that they're running right.
stop sign at Julie Kelly's.
It's right there by.
At the drop-off place?
Yeah, Spruce and 12th.
I mean, this to me is policing and is actually, do we have somebody out there once a week? Can we get somebody? In your conversations with Chief Matt,
Yeah, Madeline.
thank you.
She,
Madeline. I mean, I'm not looking for revenue producing for the city. I just want,
they're out
I don't
there.
want anybody doing a
We
U-turn
see
on
them-
Pine Avenue. It's
no.
dangerous 100% of the time.
They
Actually,
always,
I tell my
do it when
kids
the
never do a
police
U-turn. It's a
officers
bad
aren't
idea.
there. It's always when the police officers aren't there,
Well,
but
I mean, once a week, odd days, can we continue to ask for more?
we will continue to
Thank you.
ask, but I've seen them out there and I've seen them, light them up.
Even a dummy
'em over.
car seems to me to be,
Mhm.
yeah, thank you.
So,
That's it.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that tonight. Okay, we will now move on, please. Public comment. So sorry. Beth, please.
I wasn't going to, but now that you mentioned Sunset. and I
There you go.
Okay, Sunset is Caltrans. And I feel like we can contact Caltrans and ask them if they have any other recommendations for safety. They're already doing that weird walkway that nobody uses on the other side of the street, but still they are receptive to pedestrian and bicycle safety. Because I went to a meeting that they had for the neighborhood a few years ago. So they are receptive. It's something you can look into for that area.
To be clear, and I know this is years ago, but we still own the city of Pacific Grove owns policing that. It's not highway patrol, even though it's 68 down to Silomar, right?
Yeah, yes, we do. But it's just that every time you try to do something with Sunset, it's the snag because you have to contact Caltrans, So I'm just saying that they could be willing to, because if you want to avoid U-turns there, they could be doing something about the middle section that prevents a U-turn there. Up by the high school. I'm imagining, are you saying more for the high school? They do it in front of my house all the time. They use my driveway because it's the entrance to the stadium. So constantly they do that. But there's not as much foot traffic there as there is up at the high school. But I imagine you're talking about at the upper part in front of the school office that they do that.
How do
in
you
the
feel about
mornings.
rumble strips? Or bot stops?
Eh.
I mean, they're noisy.
I told, they had that meeting, my suggestion was make Cedar a cul-de-sac so that it's not 5-way there. Make it a cul-de-sac, just make it a 4-stop and put a stop sign at 19th and Sunset. Make cars stop at 19th because when they get going down that hill, I mean, even though they have to stop at Congress, these trucks they're going pretty fast. They're just rolling down that hill. So I was just saying, yeah, you have a lighted crosswalk there, but make them stop. That would help with even the sun in your eyes too, in the morning coming up, if you had to stop there because there's a stop sign. Anyway, I did make that suggestion to Caltrans.
Thank you. Okay, the next item tonight is a presentation of Pacific Grove Middle School social emotional learning goals. And we're not going to do that, just so you know, I'm letting you know. So the next thing that we will move on to is summer school review.
Good evening, members of the board. Buck Rogaman, Director of Curriculum and Special Projects. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to, but we're going to get used to it. Some summer school program, we wanted to come to the board and just give a report about it. It's one of the most important interventions that takes place in the district. It gives our secondary students a chance to make up credits. It gives our elementary students a chance to continue some of the reading intervention work that's going on, and then it also fulfills the extended school year requirement that's in some of our students' individualized educational programs. You have some information that's been shared with you in the packet. And with us tonight, we have the principal of the Secondary Credit Recovery Program, Larry Hagquist, Dr. Larry Hagquist, and he did an exemplary job this year. And I'm going to have him start off by telling you a little bit about that program. And there we go, Larry.
Thank you, Buck. Turn it off. There we go.
There you go.
Thank you, Buck. Buck covered the why we have this program, and credit recovery is very important, especially at the high school. Graduation is really, we help a lot of kids to graduate by getting them through credit recovery. And how did we approach it as far as the middle school and the high school goes in our credit recovery program? Our goals were, first of all, I wanted to say thanks to Claire Davies and Sarah Burkett for helping me set up the program in advance. There was a whole process that I didn't know about because I was new to the position, and just scheduling everything and trying to get teachers on board, and say they were very helpful in that process. Once we got the team together, which was not easy, we set some goals. I actually recall a board meeting prior to our summer school where the board shared with me some information about how to assess efficacy of a summer school program. So I looked at that and I kind of built some goals around that. So what we wanted to do with our team was to prioritize community building. We knew that we had some students that were not very resilient, had already failed classes, and our task was to have them retake classes on a computer. And it's hard to feel optimistic about that. But so we wanted to make them feel like it wasn't just taking classes on a computer, that they were a part of a learning community. We wanted to make sure that we were monitoring their progress daily. We wanted to really focus on celebrating successes, make them feel like they're accomplishing something every single day. And most importantly, we wanted to work as a team of teachers and me as the administrator together. Next on here. This was our team of teachers, and the success of our program, I really just owe to these amazing teachers that we brought together. Pam Gall, Sunny Lee, Preston Lujan, Natalie Montgomery, Jessica Morris, and Jack Riley. It was a big challenge, but we had a lot of fun during the summertime, and I really appreciate their hard work throughout this. I don't know if anybody's out there online still. We probably have about 2 people. But I said it, and I've already let them know. These are some outcomes. So that was the how. This is the what did we do? This is the high school program. So we had about 40 originally enrolled, and 19 completed at least one class. And then we had 5 that completed. This, it should be more than that.
10.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I was like, where did it go? So the high school, we had 19 that completed at least one class, and then 10 students that completed 2 classes. The middle school, we had 15 enrolled. We had all of them completed at least. We have 1 class completed. We have 10 right here. And then 5 of them completed 2 classes. A little comparison year to year. We had 55 total enrollments this year. 44 students had a single course completion. That was an 80% completion rate. And then we had 17 that completed 2 courses compared to the 2021. So the intervention that Lito Garcia really designed, which was he said emphatically over and over again, we have to have the students on the campus. This is not going to work. I think the intervention that Lito designed really worked, that we brought them on campus and we saw a big increase in the number of completions. Back to Buck.
You know, I just want to pause on that slide for just a moment and really recognize the work that Dr. Hagquist did. I had the pleasure of dropping in a couple times during the summer and saw the morning pre-meeting that he did with the teachers, and they intimately knew each one of the students that was present. And the students that weren't present, they actively were calling home, sometimes even doing a home visit to get the student to come to summer school to finish the work that they were doing. One thing I'm a little bit sad about is I wasn't able to make any of the Friday celebrations. There was a root beer float Friday. There was a cookout Friday. And so that whole idea of making summer school a place the students wanted to come to is really the secret behind the transformational numbers that you see. I mean, going from two course completers to 17, I think it did the math, and that's something like a 675% increase over the year before. You know, to go from 21 single course completions to 44 is super impressive work that was done by the secondary. So, I mean, it's worthy of a round of applause, really.
Yes.
It is. Thank you. For the elementary reading intervention program, one of the main things we wanted to do was serve the students who showed the greatest need. So what we did is we took a look at the students that were in the intervention program, and we really did focus specifically on the students that were showing the greatest need in reading in grades K through 5. What Mary Quindamil and Heather Zunguzi did that designed the program was that they decided to run 2 sessions in the 4 hours that we had allotted for the elementary summer school program. That way, in essence, we were really able to serve twice as many students as we would otherwise be able to serve. So one group of students came in from 8:30 to 10:30, and the other group of students came in from 10:30 to 12:30. So we could basically serve twice as many students as we would otherwise be able to. The goals were really to prevent the backsliding that can happen during June and July when students are off for the summer. And then we hoped, crossed our fingers, that some of the readers that were struggling would actually be able to show some growth from the spring map testing to the map testing that we did in the fall. And what you see here are the number of students that were enrolled. So there were a total of 38 students that got served. You could see the greatest need was in kindergarten, where we had 15 students. And then the rest of the grades you kind of see there. Overall, we had about 15 students of the 38 that showed growth. Another 5 remained neutral. 13 did show a decline from that spring map data to the fall. And then there were 7 students that we didn't have data for. Either they moved and didn't take the map testing in the fall, or they were new to the district and didn't take the map testing in the spring. So that's the numbers for the elementary summer school. And what was great was that it really was an extension of the program that the students were doing during the school year. So many of the students knew the teachers that they were working with and responded well to the program that was designed for the elementary students. And then finally, for the extended school year, the goal really is to provide an extended school year for students who have that written into their individualized education programs. And the goal for that program, once again, is to prevent the backsliding that can happen during the summer, during June and July. So really, it's a well-coordinated program. Director Davies and Sarah Burkett, like Dr. Hagquist said, do an outstanding job of coordinating the logistical work that it takes to build a summer program. when you look at the enrollment for the extended school year, you could see that there are 5 programs running at 5 different sites. And that takes some work to get set up and to get staffed. And so just wanted to laud the folks that put together this summer school program. And I thought it was worthy of a presentation to the board to recognize that work that they did. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer them at this time.
Great. Bram, would you like to start, sir?
I don't necessarily have a question, but again, just more accolades to the two of you and everybody that was involved. You know, it's like, I know that you get to what you think is the end of the school year, and for the folks that are involved in this in particular, it's not at all. But I think it really shows a dedication to all the students of the district. It's something that, you know, I think about a lot. You know, it's like not every student is the same, and everybody has a different path. And I'm glad that we have supported the program. If there's something more that you guys need, and as we roll into next year, I think we would all like to know about it. But I'm grateful that we have the program because, again, it's about teaching all of the students, and they're all very different and have different needs. So thank you and your team. I'm glad you're all there.
Yeah, echoing what Brian said. First, this is only credit recovery over this summer, right? We didn't do any, a few years ago, this program was quite a bit bigger. Am I correct? I think actually it's probably $1.
Yes, it's so there was kind of a transformation of the program. They went from doing something that tried to kind of mimic a school day and didn't necessarily have a set intervention curriculum designed to really trying to sharpen our focus on the students' literacy skills that needed it the most. And we feel like this targeted approach has a greater benefit than what became somewhat of a combination day camp and school. You know, as an opportunity to occupy students for a morning, but the instructional approach I think that we're taking now is much more sound.
Okay. Have we reached all of the students? I mean, I realize you said I don't have MAPS data for everybody. That's a different question. But that we actually thought we should be reaching, is the subset big enough? Is it too big?
I think that there were a greater number of students that could have benefited from summer school. One of the challenges, and Trustee Swanson kind of alluded to it, is that it's not always easy to staff summer school. So we feel like we've made some strides in bringing up the amount of pay that teachers are getting. So, at least we're showing a greater amount of respect for that effort. But yes, there are more students that could have been served.
Okay, and trying to think ahead 9 months. My thought has been that COVID is a big hole, but if you had a couple more years of education, you're going to catch up because kids are incredibly resilient, and we can go a little slower and a little faster. And in the end, they pick up a lot of stuff. It's all going to work. If you didn't have that, if you were a senior, well, there's a hole, and I don't know how to solve that. But for these kids, we pick up some of it. At the end of this year, we're going to figure out who really still sits a little bit down there.
Trustee Paff will have some interesting data that comes to the board on October 6th when we take a look at the spring testing results that we had. Yeah, the SBAC, the CASPER results, and part of that presentation, we're going to compare where we were in 2019 to where we were in 2022. And, that's going to help to drive that conversation that you're alluding to right now.
Okay.
I'm not going to spoil it.
No, well, do you have the data already?
Well, we've started to look at it. I don't know it right off the top of my head, and I would hate to hazard an estimate without the numbers right here in front of me. Yeah.
I like surprises.
We're happy to wait.
Okay.
It gives us a reason to keep showing up here.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you both very, very much. Larry, when I saw you in the summer, I think it was before the first root beer float. And yeah, I appreciate the work you were doing there. And frankly, the staff did. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that, making it fun or trying to make it fun with the Fridays socials. That's great. I'm looking at the data, a little disheartened that, we had the decline. It's almost like, what happened? Like, why didn't this work? The numbers seemed large, but I'm sure you guys will assess that and moving forward, trying to say, okay, what could we do different?
Well, and I think that one of the things to look at too is that you have to remember that the people that were in the intervention program, the students that were there, were the ones that had the greatest challenge reading. Okay, so even though they showed a decline, it's possible that the decline would have been even greater without the month of intervention that they had in June. Because I kind of felt the same way, right? As I was putting these numbers in. And the 4 weeks that they spent with our instructors was intensive and real quality work. And that real quality work does not always show up in the students when they take that MAP test in the fall. And whenever there's an assessment, I think that we have to always remember that it's a single snapshot on a single day. And there are a lot of circumstances that wind up playing into those snapshots. And also our sample size is very small. That's, 38 students. So when we look at the data from the spring and the fall as groups, and the students just finished taking the MAP testing. In fact, I think the makeups end on Friday, right? This is when the makeup window closes. Then we can start to take a look at, as a district, as a grade level, how we're doing from spring of last year, starting into fall of this year. And then we can measure more of that slide overall and where we stand as far as that goes. Keep in mind too, that when they ended in spring in like kindergarten, and then took the fall test for first grade, that there's a higher expectation of where they're going to be as well. So the standard for where they need to score in order to achieve a certain level is higher than it was in the spring.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm just curious with the transition, the term transition, what group did that apply to?
The transitional students are the students that have finished at PG High and that they're in a program that I believe the district is able to serve the students until they're 20 years old. 22.
Yeah.
And those are students that, typically have moderate to severe needs and are still served by the district.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. I just wrote OMG down for the completion. I just, my entire career, you always hear about, you just need the connection. And obviously you connected, Dr. Hagquist, and the Friday things, the things that make it enjoyable, the teachers with the tremendous involvement with the student by student and what exactly was necessary to be successful. It's absolutely staggering, the improvement that you had. So huge congratulations for that. I'm so snoopy about the 11 people, the 11
Yeah,
kids.
there was only one that was in the actual program that didn't finish.
Oh, okay,
so
that, because you had such,
They were, that whole list was, we put it together, the counselors put it together throughout the year and throughout the fourth quarter. And then they send it to me. And so these are the people that are on my list. And then the people that actually came to the program, of the people, there was one that just didn't make it through, is at Community now, but it was very, 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 very close to making it through.
well, it would be nice to have one more column in there because you're talking one kid. And I just think, you're always going to have that kid that whatever the support, maybe at that moment in time is struggling a little bit, but I just can't say enough for this. This is just mind blowing to have that increase.
Design wise, one of the reasons why we were able to do that was, as some students completed, they were incentivized to complete because they could start their summer if they were done. So they left. And so what we did is we kind of reshuffled the students, and we'd have the student teacher ratio got better because students were leaving. So we would kind of hone in on one and we'd give heavy support that way.
Well, I think that ability to pivot, what you were talking about earlier, Buck, where you're looking at how can we make this work at the best way, reach the most kids. I just really applaud that. I mean, obviously we all do. Really wonderful numbers. So this is the perfect way to end the presentation. I mean, it's wonderful. Cannot thank you enough. We need it. Public comment. Big thumbs up from the public. She's right here. All right. And nothing online. Okay. Thank you so much for that great presentation. Okay. We're moving along smartly here with future agenda items, Dr. Porras.
Thank you, Madam President. The only thing I heard today was to talk about fee schedules at some point soon.
Well,
I don't know if you want to add that or not.
The what
we normally do
schedule?
Facility
anyway.
use fee
You
schedule.
have that as a
Fee
regular item, right?
schedule. Okay.
Typically is.
Yeah, it comes in regular item. I don't think
Yeah.
that has to be special, but the request for a town hall and I think, can we fit that into an October
We're
evening somewhere?
We're working on that. So
Okay, so
staff-
you, I
staff-
don't need to add that, but
Staff will
we'll
work
get
on
it.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're already sending some emails back and
It's
forth.
not, you know, the individuals asking tonight were asking, saying, we still want to understand. I appreciate that. So, good, thank you. That's not a future agenda, so.
All right. Anything else? I just want to say we dove in, we swam heartily, and we've reached hey, we want to wrap this up in a nice beach towel and say that thank you all for being here. And look, we're leaving early. This meeting is adjourned.